Hello everyone, hope everyone is doing great. Welcome to Elyas channel. If you're new here, welcome, and I'm so happy to see you all once again. Of course, one of the very profound course that I can say to all of my students as well, which is called the cybersecurity full course, and also we can call this is a cybersecurity awareness as well. Is that if you're working as a cybersecurity engineer, if you're working as a network security engineer, or if you are as a I can say a project manager, IT project manager, IT project director, and so on. So you want to gain your knowledge to know what is going on in our digital world. Of course, this is the best course because I prepare myself for CICSP and I grab a lot of information from different places and from different resources and I put all of them into one course. So I'm sure by end of this course, you will gain a lot of knowledge. All right, my name is Elyas and I am a bachelor in computer science. I spent more than a decade in information communication technology with different company, with different organization, profit and non-profit, national and international company. On top of that, I am CCNP Cisco Certified Network Professional, CISSP preparation, AWS, Microsoft Azure, and I can say, or we can say CCNA security as well. All right, let's move on. I am a big fan of technology and I'm tech enthusiast, guys. Okay, guys, let's talk about the cybersecurity course layout. In this course, you're gonna learn privacy and data security. Very profound. We're gonna discuss about the scam and fraud. We will definitely discuss about the network security, website security, email protection, mobile devices, employee data leaks, facility security, operational security, payment cards, incident response and reports, policy development, or I can say management, cyber security links. Okay, guys, I didn't want to eat up your time. Best of luck. I'm sure you will never regret. Let's get the ball rolling. See you guys in the first lecture. Okay, guys, now it is time to talk about privacy and data security. Data security is crucial for all small business. It is not only small, it's not only medium and large company. All because the customer and client information, such as payment information, personal files, bank account detail, all of this information is often impossible. It makes sense, impossible to replace if lost and dangerous in the hand of the criminals. Data loss due to disaster such as flood or fire. As we can say, it is common, but losing it to the hackers or a malware infection can have far greater consequences. How would you handle and protect your data is what central to the security of your business and privacy expectation of the customers, employee, and partners. Therefore, we have a specific and base plan. We can say cyber plan action item. What kind of data do you have in your business? So if you spend more than a decade or probably 40 years of your life in that specific company, you are, we can say, old hand person in that company or a captive person in that company. The question is that you have to close your eyes and put your attention and see and ask this question: what kind of data do you have in your business? We're going to answer this question in the next lecture. How is that data handled and protected? There's another question that you have to keep in your mind. How is that data handled and protected? The third question that you probably need to put your concentration is: who has access to that data and under what circumstances? Okay, guys, in the next lecture, we're going to talk about what kind of data do you have in your business. See you guys there. Okay, let's talk about what kind of data do you have in your business. A typically business will have all kind of data, whether it is analog or digital. So point should be noted. Some of it more valuable and sensitive than other, but all data has value to someone. Remember that your business data may include customer data, such as account record, it's very important, transaction accountability, and financial information. Financial information is very important. Hacker know how much you make, then definitely he or she will definitely target you because you have the person or you are the person who have good money. Contact and address information. They can park their car right in front of your house and they want to hack your computer so close to your house. Don't forget that. Purchasing history, buying habits, and preferences, as well as employee information such as payroll files. We can say direct payroll, account bank information, social security, home address, and phone numbers, work and personal email address. It's also include priority and sensitive financial record, marketing plans. Guys, if a hacker capture or grab your marketing plan, the other company will be a speed up and will be more a step ahead of you is all because they know their marketing plan. For example, if you want to put something on the social media about something, they will put it already. And of course, most of the people will like, oh, he has copy from the other company, but they forgot or they don't know that this was your plan and they copy or they hacked your marketing plan. That is why that is something that we have to make sure and protect that kind of information as well. Product design. As you know that most of the companies spend tons of dollars to do not leak or do not disclose their design with anyone. If they hack or if they get this on information, of course, that is why that's why some of the company is collapsed and they want to close and you will see that, oh, due to pandemic, due to this and that. No, that's not because of pandemic. It's all because their data is leaked, someone has hacked, someone has get inside their sensitive information and they grab the all information. They are following the same way or they just make modify something and they want to use that information for their benefit. And a state or we can say local and federal tax information. These were what kind of data do you have in your business. Point should be noted, these are the most important data, and as a responsible person, one thing you should keep in your mind, if any company hire you as a cybersecurity engineer, if anything happened with that company, the all blames goes to you because they said, of course, we did not know or we didn't know what is that. You are the right person. That's why we hire you to let us know or train us or do whatever you want to do to protect our analog and digital devices. And the next lecture, we gonna discuss about how is the data handled and protect. See you guys there. How is that data handled and protect? Security experts are found that the data is most at risk when it is on the move. Probably this is a question that really rack your brain is what does it mean data is on the move? Overall, from cybersecurity standpoint, I need your attention. That is why at the beginning I asked that you have to have your pen and paper ready. Some of the stuff I'm going to share is not in the lecture, but it's something that you have to write it down. From confidentiality standpoint, or we can say from cybersecurity standpoint, data is in three mode or in three stage or in three state. Point should be noted. We have a data in rest, data in motion, data in use. How many data we have? We have three types of data from cybersecurity standpoint, or we can say from confidentiality. Data in rest, data in motion, and data in use. Data in rest is a kind of like you have saved some files in the pen drive that is called a data in rest. So now in here, we have data in use as well. What is data in use? When you are looking online something, for example, you're watching my lecture through your monitor or laptop or whatever. But if someone is behind you and seeing the screen, that is a violation of confidentiality. So that is another types of data. And the last but not least, we have a data in move or we can data in motion as like websites such as your Google something. So that is data in move because the request goes to the Google company, it come back to you, it's back and forth. That is called data in move. So that's why, yeah, this was data in move. If all your business related data, we can say resided on the single computer or server that is not connected to the internet and never left that computer, it would probably very easy to protect. Guess how? Because it is not connected to internet. Because the problem is with the internet. The moment that you connect that computer to internet, of course, militia is there. On top of that, I don't know if you're using Windows XP or Windows Server 2002 or 2003, which you have never connect to the internet, because the moment that you have connect to the internet, that does require, for example, update, patches, and so on. But this was an example. It's not happen. But most business need data to be moved and used throughout the company. To be meaningful, data must be accessed and used by employees, analyzed and researched for the marketing purposes, used to the contact customer, and even share with the key partners. Every time data moves, it can be exposed. Point should be noted. Every time what? Every time data moves, it can be exposed to different dangers. As a small business owner, you should have a straightforward plan. You should have what? Plan, or we can say standard. Point should be noted. A straightforward plan and policy, a set of guidelines, if you like, about how each type of data should be handled, validate, and protect based on where it is traveling and who will be using it. In the next lecture, we're going to discuss about who has access to that data and under what circumstances. Guys, I need your attention and concentration. See you guys there. It's time to know who has access to that data and under what circumstances. Not every employee needs access to all of your information. We have a rule in a cybersecurity, we can say CICSP, there's a rule which is called least privilege policy. So what does it mean? It means you do not have to give full permission for the new employee. Some of the company neglect to give a full permission to the new employee. What if that person gain access to the confidential area? What if that person is gain access to your sensitive information? What that person is apply for this job intentionally from other companies? If you remember, I said system and humans are involved in this kind of activity. Your marketing staff shouldn't need to be allowed to view the employee payroll data. Does that make sense? Because the marketing is allowed to see the marketing data, not the payroll. Payroll is belong to human resource department. Does that make sense or not? And your administrative staff may not need to access the all your customer information, because that department, their job is different. That is why if we follow the standard, or if we follow the policy and plan, and no one will be out of that framework. When you do an inventory of your data and you know exactly what data you have and where it is kept, it is important to then assign access rights to that data. Doing so simply means creating a list of the specific employees, partners, or contractors who have access to specific data, under what circumstances, and how those access privileges will be managed and tracked. These are very important, because now here's the thing, because if you're working in IT department, for example, you don't have to disclose the the data in motion. For example, most of the company does have a file server, or we can say shared drive. So IT department itself has its own, for example, specific shared drive, for example. On that shared drive, we are sharing the all licenses, we are sharing the all like sensitive information or confidential. So for example, what if a hacker get inside and gain access to that information and grab the all licenses that we paid for example, for some of the valuable software out there. So at this point, we're going to lose that kind of stuff as well. So, and meanwhile, we can say your business could have a variety of data. A lot of data is very important, including customer sales record, customer credit card transaction, customer mailing and emailing list, customer support information, customer warranty information, patient health and medical record. Point should be noted: patient health and medical record, employee payroll record, employee email list, employee health and medical record. One thing you should keep in your mind: employee email group list, points the distribution list. If you remember, we do have a distribution list. If they found the distribution list, they don't want to send an email through your email, they send to that specific distribution email list. Marketing plans, business lead and inquiries, products design and development plan, legal tax and financial correspondence. These are the data that your company may have, at least probably five of them, six of them, or probably most of this information is in your company. That is why security is very important. As a captive person, as a more well aware person, you have to know the value of every single person data on that specific company. And the next lecture, we're going to talk about cyber plan for privacy and data protection. Data protection. See you guys there.
Okay, guys, in this lecture, we're going to discuss about cyber plan for privacy and data protection. And it is key component, and I need your attention. And if I were you, I will grab a pen and paper. I will write some important part that I'm going to share, of course, right now. From privacy and data security. Once you have identified your data, keep a record of its location and move it into the more appropriate location as needed. So I have shared one of the very important topic, which was ransomware. So one of the key component about the ransomware attack from like protection standpoint is that we have to have a backup of the data that we have. That is why if you use Microsoft Defender, let me grab the Microsoft Defender in here, my computer. If you come to virus threat and protection, double click in here. If you come here, you would see that here there's a specific portion for ransomware protection. And in here, if you come and say manage ransomware protection, one of the most important portion that Microsoft suggests most of the user is to set up OneDrive. What is OneDrive? OneDrive is a shared drive, is a kind of, we can say Google Plus, or we can say Dropbox, and it is a shared drive which we can share our data on the cloud. So that is why Microsoft is saying like you have to keep most of your data on the cloud. So my suggestion is that you have to have a backup plan. In the case of the ransomware, right? In the case of ransomware, if any of your computer, or we can say the entire your computer, or the entire computers that you have at the office as we can say infected with the ransomware, so you do have a backup, you should no worry, and you may not, like, you don't have to pay for the ransomware because they ask for money. You should know worry about that. Most of the company are focusing for those who have a technical people, for example CICSP, someone who has experience about cybersecurity and so on. On top of that, they always ask like, hey, do you want to go ahead and share the plan that you have in the worst case scenario? Privacy is important for your business and your customer. Of course, privacy is very important. For example, if I would like to, for example, give my project to your company, so the first thing I need to make sure that you have some certain rules, regulation, plan, and policy, and then I will say, okay, so these guys are knowing what they are supposed to do. That is why continue. That is why continue trust in your business. We can say practice, product, and secure handling of your clients' unique information impact profitability. Your privacy policy is pledged to your customer that you will use and protect their information in ways that they expect and that adhere to your legal obligation. Your policies start with the simple and clear statement describing the information you collect about your customers, physical address, email address, browsing history, and so on. It's very, very important that you have to make sure that when the customer is sending an email and you respond back, there is no man-in-the-middle attack, there is no any issues. For example, there is no any phishing attack, or no one is trying to target your SNMP server and so on, or SMTP server. As you know that there are also a growing number of, we can say, regulation protecting customer and employee privacy, and often costly potential for privacy breaches. You will be accountable for what you claim and offer in your policy. That is why it is important to create your privacy policy with care and post in the clear on your website. It is also important to share your privacy policies, rules, and expectation with you all employees and partner who may come into the contact with that information. Your employees need to be familiar with your legally requirement privacy policy and what it means for their daily works routine. So it is not only writing a plan, it's not only having a policy. You have to train your employee, and meanwhile, you have to train some of the contractor as well, those who have a contact with that information. Your privacy policy will should address the following type of data. So overall, if we classify the data, we can name it from, we can say from privacy and data security, we can say personal identifiable information, personal health information, and customer information. Personal identifiable information often referred to as PII. This information include such a things that first and the last name, whom and or we can say or address, whom or business address, email address, credit card and bank account number, taxpayer identification number, patient number, and social security number. It can also include, we can say gender, age and date of birth, city of birth, and we can say city of residence, driver license, and home and cell phone number. So this is it is very critical information because everything is in here. This is called what? Personal identifiable information. The second is personal health information. Whether your healthcare provider with the lots of sensitive patient information or your simple manage health or medical information for a small number of employees. It is vital that you protect an information. A number of studies have found most customers are very concerned about the privacy. Right now, here's a study shows that most of the company, including me, of course, you including, because we are most focusing about what? About our personal health information. That is why we need to make sure to have a specific policy for this kind of information. Does that make sense or not? That's why most of the customers are very concerned about the privacy and protection of their medical record. They do not want their health information to the hand of hackers or identify thief who may abuse its it for financial gain. The last but not least, we can say customer information. This includes payment information such as credit or debit card, number and verification code, billing and shipping address, email address, phone number, purchasing history, buying references, and shopping behavior. Guys, these three key components are very important, and we have to make sure that whenever we have this kind of information, we have to make sure that we should have a very particular and a strong, or we can say a very proper standard and rules, or we can say policy, and the manual, as I mentioned at the beginning, that most of the company are asking like, hey, do you mind to send me the policy for the protection of my data? Or we can say, do you have any privacy or data security policy? If yes, go ahead and send me before we, for example, approve your project, or before we approve your what? Your proposal. Okay, guys, in the next lecture, we're going to discuss about protect data collected on the internet. This is another very important, whether inside or outside. For example, customer from outside accessing your, for example, website, which is hosted inside your data center or server room, or employees inside your company are using the same source, how we can protect it. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this lecture, we're going to talk about protect data collect on the internet. Your website can be a great place to collect information. You would say, what do you mean? Believe me, guys, if you use HTTP and instead of HTTPS, this is the key component. That is why it is better to have pen and paper. I mostly prefer to use HTTPS because HTTPS does come with a certificate, so no one can hack, no one can abuse, or no one can act as a man in the middle to what? To snap your data or to snap your website. So if you don't know what is HTTP and HTTPS, I have a specific video on YouTube and I will put the link and go ahead and watch that one as well to get familiar about what I mean by HTTP and HTTPS. From transaction and payment to purchase and browsing history and even newsletter, signing up, or we can say sign up, online inquiry and customer requests. This data must be protected. It's very, very, very important. If I know that your data, if I know that your website is under threat, if I know that your, for example, website is using HTTP, I rather not to use it because probably the hacker can build a fake website to that similar website as well. So that is why I have mentioned in here your website can be a great place to collect the information. Point should be noted. Whether you host your website on the cloud or host your own website and therefore manage your own server. We have a web server. If you are familiar about the web server, we have a IS server, internet information server. If you have this kind of information in your server room or in your data center, your responsibility is to make sure it is protected. The key number one, as I mentioned, that use HTTPS and instead of HTTP, or your website and database are hosted by the third parties such as web hosting company. Most of the web hosting company, for example, I've seen many people, they host their website in the third party company, but that, or we can say they are still using HTTP. So it is not bad idea as a technical person to prefer and suggest them to use HTTPs rather than HTTP. If you collect data through a website hosted by third party, be sure that the third party protect data fully. So when you host it, you have to ask the guy like, hey, you know what? Do you mind to send me some information? Do you have any policy? For example, how do I know that our website is secure in your company or in your data center or in your server room? You need to classify you need to classify the data, and you have to control access of that website and that data as well. And you need to make sure any data collected through your website and stored by third party as what sufficiently secure. That means protection from hackers and outsider as well as employees of the of that hosting company. Point should be noted that hosting company, for example, they have a network admin, they have a NOC operation, engineers, they have a full access to that website. You have to make sure and you have to classify, you have to make an appointment like, hey, you know what? Let me clear who is working on this project. May I know, for example, if you want to make some changes, who is the guy who are making changes, so you know who is the right person or touching your website. That is very important. Top of that, you have to create layers of security. Protecting data, like any other security challenge, is about creating layers of protection. The idea of layering security is simple. You cannot and should not rely on just one security mechanism, such as password, to protect something sensitive. If that security mechanism fails, you have nothing left to protect you. That is a good thing. Point should be noted. So I've seen many people, they said, oh, you know what? It is secure. How? I put a password. Oh my God. If that mechanism doesn't work, do you have any alternative solution? So that is why in here I have mentioned that you at least you have to have a plan B as well. And when it comes to data security, there are a number of key, we can say, or we can say there are number of key and technical layers you should consider. As I mentioned before, the needs to contact a data inventory so you have a complete picture of all the data your business pauses or controls. It is essential to get a complete inventory so you don't overlook some sensitive data that could be exposed. So there's another key component that you have to make sure, which is called identify and protect your sensitive and valuable data. Data classification is one of the most important steps in the data security. Not all data is created equal, and few businesses have time or resources to provide maximum protection to all their data. That is why it is important to classify your data based on how sensitive or valuable it is, so that you know what your most sensitive data is, where it is, and how well it is protected. In the next lecture, we're going to discuss about the common data classification, and see you guys there. Okay, guys, in this lecture, we're going to discuss about the data classification include high confidential, sensitive, internal use only. So if you classify your data in these three portions, it's going to be very easy for you, and you can easily identify which one is belong to, we can say, highly confidential, which one is belong to sensitive, and which one is belong to internal use only data. Let's see what is high confidential data. This classification applies to the most sensitive business information that is intended strictly for use within your company. Point should be noted. This is very important for your company. It is unauthorized disclosure. It's very important. You have to keep in your mind, or we can say it could be seriously and adversely impact your company, business partner, vendors, or customer in the short, or we can say in the long term. It could include credit card transaction data, customer names and address. We can say card magnetic strip content, password and pins, employees payroll files, social security number, patient information, if your healthcare business, and similar data. So now you found out what I mean by high confidential data. So these are, for example, social security is one of the important, I can say one of the most important data that every single person in the United States is focusing that do not leak this data. Let's talk about what is sensitive data. This classification applies to sensitive business information that is intended for use within your company. It's also within your company, and information that you would consider to be private should be included in this classification. So you just want to make it private, like point should be noted in here. We can say example including employees performance evaluation, internal audit report, various financial report. That is very important. Product design, partner agreement, marketing plan, and email marketing list. Overall, we have three types of data from network standpoint. We can say personal data, restricted data, and we can say public data. In here, we most of the time talking about the restricting data. This classification applies to sensitive information that is generally accessible by wide audience and intent for us only within your company. Control access to your data. So control access to your data is like you have to have control access of your data. Now there is two types of things. One is internal and external. If you submit these project to subcontractor, you have to have that control as well. So you have to contact with the subcontractor. You have to read their rules, regulation, policy, how they protect your data. If not, if the all data is in your office, in your company, point should be noted, the all blames goes to you if anything happened in the future or if any data we can say exposed or so on. So control access to your data, no matter what kind of data you have. It really makes sense. The more sensitive the data, the more restrictive the access. As general rule, should be on a need to know basis. What I mean in here, need to know basis. I mean you have to know who need that data. If that data is belong to human resource department, so of course only human resource employees are allowed to use that data, right? Only individual who have the specific need to access certain data should be allowed to do so. The same as explained, so we have to specify who has access. I've seen many people because I'm working in many projects, they just have one public data. They put the contract, they share this proposal, they name a folder, but that's open. There's no restriction. I mean, for example, have you ever heard about the NAS network attached storage? So there's a lot of network attached storage device. You just plug and play and create a user, and everyone can use the same username and or we can say same credential in order to access that shared drive. That is not safe. So, as a technical person, I'm telling you, you have to be more well aware of what is going on in the market. As part of this process, a business should consider developing a straightforward plan and policy, a set of guidance about how each type of data should be handled and protected based on who needs access to it and the level of classification is very important and point should be noted as well. Okay, secure data. In addition to administrative safeguard, data determine who has access to what data. Technical safeguard are essential. We can say the two primary safeguard to data are password and encryption. So in this way I have explained here, at least you have to, for example, you have to provide a very strong and complex password. For example, at least it should be 10 characters and so on. Encryption is also important. On top of that, if you provide a password, I've seen people, they keep the same password more than 6 years, 7 years, but If you think that data is very sensitive, you need to set a rule every day, every week, every month, or sometime if you notice that some suspicious activity happen in your data every minute or every 30 second, or we can say every hour, you have to change that password to different ways. So the person who have that responsibility he have, or he and she has to change his password to that way. Okay, some popular method of we can say two-factor identification included something the requester individually knows as a secret, such as password or PIN. Something the requester uniquely possesses, such as password, physical token, or ID card. Something the requester can uniquely provide as biometric data, such as fingerprint, or we can say face, geometry, or face recognition. So another essential data protection technically is encryption. Encryption has been used to protect sensitive data and communication for decades. And today encryption is very affordable, easy to use, and high effective in protecting data from praying eyes. Point should be noted. Encryption is very important. Now, here's the thing. It's not only encrypt. It's not only encrypt that a specific folder. You're allowed to encrypt the entire hard drive as well. Top of that, if your data is on motion, we discuss about data use, data motion, and data rest. So it's the types of data from the network standpoint. If your data is on the motion, for example, you're using pen drive, you have to make sure when you use a pen drive you have to encrypt that data as well. There's a plenty of software, or we can say variety of software, that is give you that feature to install inside your pen drive, and you can encrypt the pen drive as well. Okay, now it is another method that you have to back up your data. It is very important. It's very important, as in the previous lecture I have mentioned. What if a ransomware happened in your company? Do you have any alternative solution? Nowadays, point should be noted. In every company contract, the first question is, what is the procedure? What is the method? How would you react if a ransomware has happened in the company or in my data? Because I want to give you this project. So how you protect my data? So the best way to protect the data from ransomware, as I mentioned, is to create a backup plan. You have to have a good plan for backupping. In the next lecture, we're going to discuss about plan for data loss or theft. Guys, see you there. Okay, guys, in this lecture, we're going to discuss about plan for data loss or theft. It's very important and need attention as well. Every business has to plan for the unexpected. It really makes sense. Disaster recovery, earthquake, fire, or so all the time. My suggestion is to, when you see something is up and running, you should have alternative plan. What if some catastrophic things happen to that server room or data center, so on? You have to have a backup plan as well, and that include the loss or theft of data from your business. Not only can the loss or theft of data hurt your business, brand, and customer confidence, it can also expose you to the often costly state and federal regulation that cover data protection and privacy, data loss, and we can say also expose business to significant litigation risk. That's why it's critical to understand exactly what data or security breach regulation affected your business and how prepare you or to respond to them. That should be foundation of data breach response plan that will make it easier to launch, or we can say rapid and coordinated response to any loss or theft of data. Point should be noted. In any situation, I say that, what if an employee took that hard drive with data is very sensitive and put in his car, and now he lost his car? So now what is the point? The point is that the data is gone. Now that guy doesn't have his car. Beside that, one of the very valuable and expensive things that we can say from cybersecurity standpoint is the data that was inside that hard drive. Having a proper plan is very, very very necessary and it's very important as well. And I have mentioned it's not only impact your company, it's not only impact on your customer, it's not only impact on your product. So that's also impact the government as well. Because sometime you receive a contract from the government, their main focus is to make sure you have to classify your data and you have to make sure that the right person is accessing our data. Now, if they know that, of course, they never sign any contract, or if you mention that, oh, and in the worst case scenario, I will add our external hard drive. They will never prefer that one. They know that's a portable, and it's a lot of chance of vulnerability and thief or loss of that kind of data. So, okay, and the next lecture, or we can see in this next section, we're going to discuss one of the very important topic, which is called schemes and fraud. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this section, we're going to discuss about the schemes and fraud. One of the another key component about this course is schemes and fraud. Let's see what is in here and what would you gain from this lecture. Now, telecommunication technologies may offer countless opportunity for small or bigger businesses, but they also offer cyber criminals many new way to victimize your business. Schemes your customer and hurt your what? Reputation. Business of all size should be aware of the most common schemes. Schemes perpetrated online. To protect your business against online schemes, be conscious when visiting web links or opening attachment from unknown senders. Make sure to keep all software updated and monitor credit card for unauthorized activity. Let's talk about the plan and action about a scheme and fraud. Training is one of the very essential thing that we have to train almost every employee, especially those who just join to the company or especially someone who recently been hired. Training employees to recognize social engineering. Social engineering is also known as pretexting, is used by many criminals, both online and offline, to trick unsuspected employee into giving away their personal information and or installing malicious software onto their computer, devices or network. Social engineering is successful because the bad guys are doing their best to make their work looks and sounds what legitimate, sometimes even helpful, which makes it easy to what deceive users. Most offline social engineering occur over the telephone. For example, hey, you know what? I forgot my phone. I forgot my password. Do you mind to reset my password? You don't know who is that guy. For example, hey, I'm John. I'm working at home. Nowadays, you know that everyone is working telework. So if you don't mind, go ahead and reset my password. That guy know the email address. Once I reset the password, he will log into his to John email and will grab the all information. It's very simple, it's very common, it's very basic. Probably most of you know already about this kind of, we can say, pretexting or social engineering attack. For example, LinkedIn profile, Facebook posted, and Twitter message can allow a criminal to what? Assemble details deserves on employees. So teaching people the risk involved in sharing personal or business detail on the internet can help you partner with your staff to prevent both personal and organizational losses. Many criminals use social engineering tactics to deceive and find out, for example, if you want to post anything on the Facebook, hey guys, what would be your best recommendation for antivirus? Guys, today my computer is infected with the ransomware. So these all information, if you talk about anything, whether it's a person or your company, the hackers are keep their eyes on your activity and they are trying to find out, like, if you always talking about For example, antivirus, the next day you will receive an email, an offer of like, hey, we have this kind of antivirus software. If you don't mind, go ahead, and it's a trial version for 30 days. If you're good, you don't have to pay it. You can stay and you can have it for a long time. So these are this kind of activity when we do on the social media. So we have to. That's why we have to train our employees as well that while they're using social media, they should not allow to share, especially anything related to business, even as own personal information, which also touch or we can say on the surface of our company, they should not allow to share that kind of stuff because attackers everywhere and they are trying to find out which way in order to start communication with you. For example, if you're looking for voice over IP and you're searching on the social media, for example, hey guys, what would be your recommendation? Once they found that you're looking for that kind of information, the day after you may receive a call. Hello, this is me, and I'm calling on behalf of this company. I heard that you're looking for this kind of thing. So the social engineering is involved. We ask you, do you mind to send me your email? And we on and like they give you very like they give you a lot of good offers. Like it really surprise you as well. But once you provide your email address so on, they will send you some information, for example, as a PDF file. Once you click on that PDF file, attached to that PDF file, there's a malware and it automatically install in your computer. And your computer will be a victim of that kind of activity. And later on, through the ransomware, we can say that comes with the worm spray, which affect the entire network. Okay, in this lecture, we're going to discuss about protect against online fraud and protect against phishing. Okay, let's talk about what's protect against online fraud. Online fraud takes on many guesses that can impact everyone. It really makes sense. It really makes sense, including a small business and their employees. It is helpful to maintain consistent and predictable online messaging when communicating with your customer to prevent other from impersonating your company. Be sure to never request personal information or account detail through emails. Here's a very important thing. Be sure to what? Be sure to never request personal information or account detail through the email. Guess how? Social networking or other online message, let your customer know. It's very important. Before, let your customer know you will never request this kind of information through such a channel and instruct them to contact you directly. It's very important. Give me a call and I will let you know. Or set up an appointment and set up a meeting and share this all stuff that we are as a this kind of company, we are not disclosing, we are not communicating, we are not sharing this kind of information through the email, for example. Phishing attack is a technique used by online criminals to trick people into thinking they are dealing with the trusted website or other entity. A small business face this threat from two directions. Phishers may be impersonating them to take advantage of unsuspected customers, and phishers may be trying to steal their employees' online credentials. Attackers often take advantage of current event and certain types of, we can say, air or such as natural disaster, epidemic or health, we can say scarce, economic concern, majority politic elections, holidays, and so on. Business should ensure that their online communication never ask their customer to submit sensitive information via email. Make the clear statement in your communication, reinforcing that you will never ask for personal information via email so that if someone target your customer, they may realize that the request is a scheme. It's a good point to know. For example, if I ask, hey, do you mind to send me your username, your first name, last name, and your social security number, so the customer know, like, oh, okay, this is a scheme because this is not a genuine and this is not a genuine request because we have already discussed that we are not sharing this kind of information through the email. That is a good way to what to find out who is right and who is wrong. Employees awareness is your best defense against your user being tricked. into handing over their user and password to cyber criminals. Explain to everyone that they should never respond to incoming message requesting, we can say, private information. If a stranger claims to be from the legitimate organization, verify his or her identity. It's very important. For me, if I would you, I will give a call. For example, hey John, is that you? I receive an email. You ask like, please, do you want to send me this much amount to my direct deposit? I just want to cross check if that's you. It's not a bad idea. Just make sure, and the John will be more happy, and John will say that okay, my money is in the good place, so it is safe. That is a good thing. On top of that, verify his or her identity with his or her estate company before sharing any personal or classified information. Also, to avoid being led to be fake site, employees should know to never click on a link sent by email from the untrustworthy sources. So here's the thing that we have to train our employee. For example, if you receive any email with that kind of attachment, you don't have to open, and you know that email is kind of fake. On top of that, it doesn't come with a proper address. Phishing attacks a lot nowadays, so you probably make sure that these things should not happen in your company. If you believe you have revealed sensitive information about your organization, make sure to what? Report to appropriate people within your organization. Contact your financial institution and close any accounts that may have been compromised. If you believe financial data is at risk, change any password you may have, we can say, revealed. And if you use the same password for multiple resources, make sure to change it for each account. It's very important. So these are the solution. Take like immediately action. In the next lecture, we're going to talk about don't fall for fake antivirus offers. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this lecture, we're gonna discuss about don't fall for fake antivirus offer. The first thing before I go ahead and proceed reading this lecture, what is my suggestion? My suggestion is that as a technical person, you have to purchase one of the valuable, prestigious, we can say, antivirus to your company. It's very important. Once your company has like valuable or prestigious antivirus, that antivirus will definitely protect these kind of fake activities. That's number one. If you're using Microsoft, it has been, I can say, 4 years that I use Microsoft Defender. I couldn't find any issue. I'm okay. Top of that, I know which kind of website am I supposed to use and which kind of website am I not supposed to use is the key component. And this is something that I thought to share before we start talking about the downfall for fake antivirus offer. The reason is that some of the employees, if their computer doesn't have antivirus, of course they're looking and they're searching and they're pursuing to find out if there is any free antivirus software available out there, right? So our main concern is what? Our main concern is our company, or we can say the company computer rather than their personal computer. Sometimes their personal computer is very important because recently I have discussed with one of my colleagues. He said that, you know what, we should not worry about the people which kind of computer they have. I said, you know what, you're right, but sometimes they are using VPN, sometimes they are using, for example, sometimes they are accessing, for example, the office data file and folder so on through their computer. If their computer is infected with the virus, so it doesn't pack in our company as well. So this is the thing that you have to, like as a captive person, or we can see as an all-hand person, to be well aware of this kind of activities as well. Fake antivirus, or we can say scare aware, and other kind of online security scheme have been, we can see, behind some of the most successful online fraud in recent time. It really makes sense because if you're not technical person, of course you're looking for something to, for example, the big warning is coming in front of your window like, hey, your computer is under attack of this virus. Please click and install the software and clean each and everything in your computer. My suggestion is if you see this kind of, for example, message with prompt on your Windows, just disregard it because most of the free stuff does come for the future. You don't have to victimize your computer or don't try to be compromise your data, whether it's your personal data or office data. So make sure that organization has policy in place explaining what the procedure is if an employee's computer we can say, become infected by viruses, train your employee to recognize and we can say legitimate warrant message using the test file from the I never use eicare.org for notify your IT team if something bad or we can say questionable has happened. If any computer, for example, if you provide for your employees, for example, a computer which they have, for example, user but not add to the admin rights, you're not allowed to install this kind of software because for most of the installation software, user should be admin in order to proceed in order to install that kind of software. That is a good point. And the next lecture, we're going to discuss about protect against malware. See you guys there. Businesses can experience a compromise through the introduction of malicious software, or we can say malware. Malware can make its way onto machines from the internet, download attachments, email, social media, and other platforms. One specific malware to be aware of is key login, or we can say that track or deceive users. What? Deceive users keyboard strokes. Many businesses are fallen victim to key login malware being installed on a computer system and their environment. Once installed, the malware can record keystroke made one of the computer allow bad guys to see password, credit card information, social security, whatever is inside your computer. That bad guy will keep eyes on that. Either they use that information or selling that information to the dark market. Point should be noted. And the best way in order to make sure that everything is okay is to keep your software up to date. Any software that you have, top of that, you don't have to use free version of any kind of software. Remember that. Never ever try to suggest any of your employees or any of your co-workers or colleagues to use a free software. I've seen some software they provide a community version. That is fine, but not like we can see the medium and large company. They shouldn't supposed to use the community version. If they can afford it, they have to go with the pay version of that software. Option number one is to keep your software up to date and keep the Windows or Linux or we can say macOS that you have up to date. If that is up to date, it does not happen in your computer. And as I mentioned, that you have to purchase a valuable antivirus and you may have very less stress. In the next lecture, we gonna discuss about be aware of spyware and adware. See you guys there. One of the most key component about this lecture is to develop layers of approach to guard against malicious software. Does that make sense or not? So the first thing is you have to train your employee. The second is if any employee using pen drive, in some company, pen drive or we can say flash drives are not allowed. They're not allowed to use portable storage. On top of that, you have to specify the network. For example, if you have a guest network, you have to specify the guest network and you have to put a police on the we can say the guest network as well because if anything happen you can easily find out that okay this all threat and these all viruses or these all issues come from the guest internet. And another issue and another solution is to as I mentioned that you have to purchase a valuable and prestigious antivirus. Point should be noted. And train the employee. They should not get excited by anything which come to your windows or anything happen. And if any of employee are having any question, better to ask the IT department. That is why the information technology department is built for or designed for to ask any question that you have. So if in terms of any issues, any suspicious activities through email, through the software, and so on, better to just report the IT department. Okay, let's talk about be aware of spyware and adware. Here's the thing. It's very interesting. I need your attention in here. I really need your attention in here. Spyware and adware, when installed, will send pop-up ads. Now you would say that, oh, my computer was compromised by this kind of, we can say, viruses. It really makes sense. It happened once in my computer as well. When you open a Windows, for example, when you open a browser, you will see there's an advertise right and left and up and down. but it's not the one. Some of the website owner, they are, for example, taking a benefit of their website. They put that advertising. That is not what I mean. But there is another one. When you put the link, and you will see there is a hyperlink is coming in every page. So that is a, it's like a bit chance of that your computer is compromised by this kind of what, this kind of viruses as well. So point should be noted. Redirect to certain website. At meanwhile, when you click on that information, it redirect to different website. This is a very, very, we can say it's a worm, and it's worm inside your computer. So you have to make sure that if you access any files, if you access any website, they keep track of what you're looking for, what kind of information you're looking for. At this time, we can see the man in the middle attack as well. So if you type your username and password and check your bank, at that time, the next time when you see your bank account is zero, and of course, I don't know what's gonna happen, but believe me, this is what happened. This is what is happening every microsecond all around the world. A point should be noted. If you're subject to endless pop-up windows, or we can say are regularly directed to website other than what you type in your browser, your computer is likely infected with spyware. Functional. These are the sign that we can see. These are the sign of if your computer is infected or not. To remove a spyware, run an immediately full scan of your computer. That's number one. Now the thing is, you have to have a valuable antivirus. Some of the antivirus, the price is so low, but it does not that much strong to capture and detect these kind of what, viruses. So there's a specific software which only designed to remove the spyware. Point should be noted. Don't Google it. If you want to Google it, you have to find the genuine website, and you have to check the references. You have to contact some of the company who are using this kind of software, and to make sure that you are using the genuine software. To avoid being infected with the spyware, limit cookies on your browser references and never click on link within pop-up windows. If you see there is a pop-up windows, you don't have to click that link. Just leave it. Or if I would you, I will close it. And be aware of free download software. In the next lecture, we're going to discuss about verify the identity of telephone information seekers. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this lecture, we're going to discuss about verify the identity of telephone information seekers. You know that we have discussed about the social engineering, that most of the time people are deceiving or tempting some of the, we can say, untrained employee, and they're trying to get information from that untrained employee. So most offline social engineering occur over the telephone. If hacker trying to find some information from the hacking standpoint, that is called information gathering. Through social media network, and information posted on the website can be enough to create a convincing rules for track your employees. Ensure that you train employees to never disclose, we can say, customer information, username, password, or other sensitive detail to incoming callers. When someone requests information, always contact the person back. It's very important. For example, when someone give you a call, you have to give him a call back using a known phone number, the one which you have the number. You have to contact the human resource department. You have to contact the department where that person is working. Contact the, for example, the team lead of that company, the team lead of that organization, or the supervisor of that person. Like, hey, you know what? This is the number. Is that correct or not? Just cross check, or email account to verify the identity. Guys, you can follow me on YouTube as well. You just need to simply search for Elyas Tech, and you can find some valuable information there as well. Okay, on the next section, we're gonna discuss about network security. It's very, very important as well. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this lecture, we're gonna discuss about network security, one of the another key component in this course is network security. As you look at the picture, everything from the system standpoint, anything which we are using, sending and receiving, it does require what? Proper network. So that is why networking is very important. Beside that, we say that human is also involved, such as pretexting or social engineering, but there are a lot of other stuff we have to know as a captive person. Securing your company network consists of identifying all devices and connection on the network. The key number one is that you have to identify all devices and connections on the network. Any kind of device that you have, whether it's a firewall, switch, or we can say modem, wireless access point, wireless modem, wireless controller, and so on. On top of that, we can say setting boundaries between your company system and other is very, very important. You have to specify, you have to distinguish between your, we can say your company internet and something outside your company internet. We're going to discuss about this lecture a little bit more with more details in upcoming lecture, and that's why I just want to make sure that what we're going to cover in this lecture or in this section. Enforcing control to ensure that unauthorized access, we can say misuse or denial of services and so on. On top of that, again, you can find me through YouTube. Guys, the only way to appreciate some of my work is to simply go ahead and subscribe my YouTube channel as well. Okay, let's talk about how to secure internal network and cloud services. Your company's network should be what's separated from the public internet. Point should be noted, we have a two types of network. We have an internal network and we have an external network. What is internal network? Guys, if you know about LAN, LAN is a stand for local area network. So local area network is our network. We have to get the control of that network. And what is public internet or network? We can say one. One is a stand for wide area network. So we have to get the control of what? Our local area network, or we can say by a strong user authentication mechanism and policy enforcement system, such as firewall and web filtering proxies. Additional monitoring system we can see is very important. Additional monitoring system is required and security solution such as antivirus software. I mean, in any company you work, we have to prefer one valuable and prestigious antivirus and intrusion detection system. Intrusion detection system is also important. Guys, point should be noted. It is not a firewall, it is not a router, it's not a switch, it is not a modem, it is not like it is totally different. This is we can say now we do have a modulator you can purchase and add into the firewall as well, and nowadays some of the firewall does come with this kind of feature as well built in with the factory default intrusion detection system. It detect if anything happened inside your network. It is very important and should also be applied to identify, point should be noted, to identify and stop malicious code or unauthorized access attempts. Now let's talk about the internal network, or we can say local area network. After identifying the boundary point on your company's network, each boundary should be what? Evaluated to determine what type of security control are necessary and how they can be best deployed. Border router should be configured to only route traffic to and from your what? Your company's public IP address. Firewalls should be deployed to restrict traffic only to and from the minimum set of necessary services. Very important. So now as a technical person, the first thing you need to know what is firewall. If you have to get the control of our local area network, even the interface which is connected to outside, we have to police, we have to traffic, we have to put some access list and so on to make sure that there is no any, we can say, external attack from outside to inside our network. So you just need to make sure that internal network is more secure than an external. And top of that, and beside that, one thing you should keep in your mind that if you're focusing on a firewall as well, these steps are very important. That's why I mostly prefer to have a pen and paper. Once you know the firewall, you have to know the zone-based firewall. For example, we have a DMZ firewall, we have a DMZ zone, we have a local area network zone, we have a wide area network zone. DMZ zone is demilitarized zone, and we do have a DMZ1, DMZ2, DMZ3, DMZ4. So you need to know what is the DMZ zone for and how we can allow DMZ to our local area network and our local area network to DMZ. But that requires some restriction, routing policy, and so on. So you have to make sure and get the control of these kind of stuff as well. Top of that, we do have a cloud-based services as well. So nowadays, most of the stuff's moved to the cloud. One thing what I noticed recently, friend of mine, and we are testing, and we found that if you create, for example, if you take a template, for example, Microsoft Windows 11, you just took the template and install on the platform. If you use another, for example, Microsoft Windows Server 2019, if you install that one as well. So these two operating system, I want your attention in here. These two operating system can communicate with one another. Now, if you put another Linux operating system with the same platform, with the same region, the source that you have on that cloud platform, that Linux operating system will be able to ping your Windows 11, and meanwhile can able to ping your Windows Server 2019. I'm telling you guys because the reason which I mentioned that why Linux, for example, pretend that hacker found the terminal. He will run his own operating system. So that is why we can see that in the cloud area network they are using single point resources in the same, or we can say or in the single point resource is a good word to use. Carefully consult your terms of services what all cloud services provider to ensure that your company's information and activity are protected. We have to have a paper, we have to sign with the cloud provider that, hey, you know what? I have to make sure that all our data is protected. Sometime in some project in some company, they ask like, do you mind to go ahead and share the contract or the agreement that you have with that cloud, or we can say with that cloud service provider. If you say, oh, we don't have any paper, it's like you never had a focus on the security purpose. So your aim was to just like move your all data on the cloud. Does that make sense or not? So we have to make sure that one as well. With the same degree of security you would intend to provide on your own. Request security, and we can say auditing from your cloud service provider as applicable to your company needs and concerns. These services may include backup and restore services, very important, and encryption services, which may be very attractive to small businesses. The reason which I mentioned in here additional services and you have to, for example, encryption or backupping system as well, is that in a worst case scenario, as far as this cloud, it's okay. Now there is a competition between two cloud service provider, right? So that is why you have to have a backup plan for the cloud services as well. And the main while you have to have system restores as well. Backup and system restore services, encryption services. You can encrypt and decrypt as well. So probably there's some charges for these kind of services, but if you know that you have enough budget, it's not bad idea to have this kind of feature as well through the cloud computing as well. On the next lecture, guys, we're gonna discuss about develop a strong password policy. See you guys there. Okay, guys, one of the another key component in this section is develop a strong password policy. It is very, very essential. It's very important. I have seen many people they're using very common password. For example, ABC at 123, admin at 123, admin. They are using some of the network devices as factory default username and password. Believe me, I was in a one of the coffee shop and I checked for example, the gateway. When I checked the gateway and I found that that guy or that company were using the default username and password. Most of the username we can say most of the default username and password is admin and admin. So that is not secure. Point should be noted, that's not secure. So our first suggestion would be to change any device when you purchase to different username and password. It's very important as well. Okay, let's see what is in here. Generally speaking, two-factor authentication method is very important. Or we can say MFA, multi-factor authentication. Guys, nowadays, almost every platform, every device does come with the multi-factor authentication. It is very, very essential as well. And my suggestion is all the time when you go any places or when someone is need idea and suggestion, you always try to prefer them through two-factor authentication, which require two types of evidence that you are who you claim to be. It's very important. For example, if your email address is correct, then they will send you an email, they will send you a text to your phone number. So now they want to confirm that you are the right person to access this email address. If you receive a text to your phone and type the same code, you're able to access your email and so on. That is a good way to, we can say, use or safer than using just a static password for authentication. I've seen many people they using single password like probably more than 6 to 7 years, or we can say at least for 1 year they are using very basic password. I notice nowadays it is very common. I read an article. One of the researchers he found that almost we can say 55% of those who are using, for example, uh, like Visa card, any card, or debit card or credit card, they are using their date of birth number, for example, 4 digits, right? So 55 to 60% of people are using their date of birth. So that is common. If the hacker knows your date of birth, they can use your credit card, they can use your debit card. So what is the point, right? So that is why try to avoid using basic terminology behind this kind of activity, and it is very important that we have to train our employee as well to make sure to use at least two-factor authentication if the company is not effort to, like for example, purchase third-party application or their system is not up to date or they are using the old mechanism. The last but not least is we have to provide and we have to let them know to they need to use the strongest password. At least we have to say it should be very complex and at least it should be 10 character and so on. One of the another thing that I found that while I was preparing myself for CICSP, I read an article that we can Pinterest people who are trying to get inside the bank to see if there's any vulnerability or if there's any issue. They found that most of the non-technical people they write their password on a piece of paper or sticky paper and they put it under the table or they put it right in front of there, for example, on the monitor, stick on the monitor and so on. So that is also not safe, and we have to train our employees to not do this kind of stuff. Okay, guys, I hope this information was very helpful. On the next lecture, we're gonna discuss about what makes your Wi-Fi or wireless devices more secure. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this section, we're gonna discuss about secure and encrypt your company Wi-Fi. So it is very, very another important, we can say part. Almost every part in this course is very important, but some of them are most important because these are the things that you're using your troubleshooting in daily basis, right? So in here, what is important? Your company may choose to operate a wireless local area network for the use of customers, guests, and visitors. If so, it is important that such a wireless local area network be keep it separate from the main company network. So the traffic from the public network cannot, we can say, traverse the company's internal system at any point. So now what we found in here, almost every company does have a wireless network or we can say wireless access point or Wi-Fi. Now we found that we should not provide the same username and password for our guest or for our visitor to access our Wi-Fi internet. Probably you would say, so then what to do? We have to configure separate wireless access point. If you're not technical, it's okay, but if you're technical, you have to create another SSID, for example, if ABC, or we can say ABC guest, just say for your guest that go ahead and access the EBC guest, and that EBC guest should be in separate VLAN, and that EBC guest should be totally separate from your local area network, because some of the guests they are fine, but some of the hackers, they come as a guest, they come as a visitor to see what kind of Wi-Fi you have, which kind of network you're using, what is the public IP, what is so on. If they found the range of the IP that you're using, if they found that which kind of network you're using, of course, this is how you appreciate the hackers to get inside the company and do their nasty things that they're supposed to do. So we found that we have to what? We have to separate our local area network to the public area network first. And the second, once we have a guest and we are expecting guest and visitor in our company or in our organization, we have to have a separate Wi-Fi, which is only designed for what? For visitor and guest. Point should be noted. And here I have mentioned that wireless encryption, one of the most important known way to protect, and it's way different for hacker to hack the Wi-Fi, would be what we said, Wi-Fi protected access to, or WPA2 encryption. Whenever you want to configure and assign a password for your Wi-Fi, you have to accept WPA2 encryption. This is very strong way to keep your Wi-Fi very secure. Okay, in here we do have some other stuff that we have to mention before we jump into another section. That in another section we're going to discuss about the website security, but let's do what we have in here. We can say encrypt sensitive company data. It is very, very important. We need to find out some mechanism, some ways to encrypt our sensitive data, and we have to make sure that we are following some rules and regulation as well. On top of that, if we are using HTTPS, try to make sure that we have to have a SSL certificate and it should be up to date. Update all application. It's very important. All system and software, including network equipment, should be up to date. It should be very, very, very recent update. The patches, firmware, and operating system should be all the time up to date. As a responsible person, we have to make sure that all operating systems up to date. Any network device that we have that is up to date and the firmware is up to date, or we can say there's no patches remain in some of the server. We have to keep everything up to date. That is why most of the operating system, including Microsoft, they said all the time you have to make sure to download the update and install as it's supposed to be. Set safe web browser rules. It is very important as well. We have to make sure and we have to police the traffic in our network. Whoever is accessing which kind of website, we have to make sure and protect the internet inside the network as well. Seen there are some proxy server which is available on the internet that some of the employee they are downloading. For example, we can say vtunnel, htunnel. These are the common tunnels. If they download, they can easily bypass your proxy server or your firewall as well. But we have to make sure and have a control of this kind of stuff as well. If remote access is enabled, make sure it is secure. So all the time, try to make sure to provide virtual private network VPN. It is very important. On top of that, very strong two-factor authentication that they should feel they are using the secure tunnel and there is no any man in the middle attack. The last but not least, create a safe use flash drive policy. First of all, my suggestion is to do not let anyone use USB at the office. If they are using USB at the office, what is the important part? They have to bring their USB at the office and give the IT department. The IT department will encrypt their pen drive. They can use the pen drive by using a strong username and password, or by using a strong password when they, we can say, move data from one place to another place or from some place to another place, so on. Okay, guys, in the next lecture, we're going to discuss about website security. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this section, we're going to discuss about website security. One of the most important portion, guys. I said almost every lecture is important. This one is also important as well. If you're a technical person or if you're owner of the company or so on, you have to keep your eyes on your website and see what else is important to remember. Website security is more important than ever. Web servers, which host the data and other contents available to your customers on the internet, are often the most targeted and attacked component of the company networks. Point should be noted. We can say cyber criminals are constantly looking for improperly secure website to attack. This is another thing that you have to keep in your mind, that if the website is not secure. Let me share one of the common, we can say, software that I use sometime when some of the customers, some of the people request me to go ahead and, do you mind to go ahead and see what is going on with my website? I always prefer to what? Download this specific software which is called Vega Vulnerability Scanner, and install, whether you have a Linux operating system, whether you're using Mac OS, or we can say Microsoft, you can install this software. And one thing you should keep in your mind, you don't have to run on any website, because point should be noted, if they run these kind of things and they catch that these kind of requests is coming from your computer to your public IP, there will be plenty, there will be a punishment, or there will be a rules and regulation from the government that you just need to make sure. For example, if I request you to go ahead and see and check what is going on with that website, is it safe or not? What is the error? Like, try to tell me what is the requirement in order to make sure that my website is safe. Then you're allowed to do that. Other than that, if you track and monitor other websites, there will be a big problem for you. Point should be noted. So through these tools, you can easily find out what is going on through your what? Through your website. Let's see what else we have. So I need your attention in here as well. There are some specific security threat to web servers as well. So let's see, what are these? Cyber criminals may exploit software bugs. Point should be noted. May exploit software bugs in the web server. Exactly. It is very hard if they exploit back in the web server. That is called, we can say, like a poisoning. It is very hard to remove. You need to, for example, rebuild the server. If you have a backup, try to make something else, because they will run malware inside your web server. If you don't know your web server is safe, then they can easily get inside your website server. They're not snapping the request from original website to the fake website, since they know that your web server is like, there is a lot of vulnerability, a lot of doors are open, a lot of windows are open. They can get inside, dive into your web server, and they will do what they're supposed to do, or active content to gain unauthorized access to the web server. For example of these things, we can say unauthorized access, including gaining access to file or folder that were not meant to be publicly accessible, and being able to execute command, and or we can say install malicious software on the web server. They can execute a command because they know that there's a lot of ways, means you haven't protect your web server. They can install, they can run a command, and they can do anything that they like to do. Another issue is denial of services. Guys, denial of service is something like, If you want to access, for example, www.google.com, one time and second time when you access, you are not able to access the google.com. That is called denial of service. Means the hackers attack the Google company, and now the customers are not no longer able to access the Google company. I may access later on. So what the Google do, they will do. Google is common. It won't happen with the Google because they are they are very big in these kind of things. They know, they're well aware of this kind of activity. For example, some company, they will restart the web server. It's okay. Again, the hackers, they know you haven't done anything. You just reboot the server. They again target to your what? Your server. That is called the denial of services. Or we can say attacks may be direct at the web server, or we can say it's supporting network infrastructure. To what? Infrastructure to prevent or your website user from making use of its services. So it's deny the services, it block the services. So it gives a or we can say it create a problem for your customer to access the website. That's called the denial of service. Sensitive information on the web server may be read or modified, we can say, without authorization. It is very possible because some sensitive information, we got this, we are working on this project, we're working on this one. So they are like, they just want to see out of your activity, they just want to have their own conclusion, what kind of, like, what do you do, what is going on what project you're working on. So if that company is like have a very strong competition with your company, of course, they will win because they are putting their eyes on every micro activity that you are doing at the office or so on. Another thing is the sensitive information on backup database that are used to support what? Interactive element of the web application may be compromised through the injection of the unauthorized software. We can say commands, examples including what? SQL Server injection, or we can say lightweight directory access protocol, LDAP, injection and access site scripting. So access site scripting. Through these kind of things, you know how to get inside. Now, if your website is okay, your website. So overall, if any one of you are familiar about the web server, we have one main web server, which is we install, for example, IS server. But we do have another server which we are using that server as a what? As a database server, so as a kind of a storage. But if a hacker get inside the storage or the database server rather than the web server, if they messed up anything with the database, of course, we are not able to access the web server because the entire source and the entire source is there, right? So that is the thing that you have to make sure, and as a responsible person, to take some action and keep your eyes on it. Sensitive and encrypted information transmitted between web server and the browser may be intercepted. Point should be noted. It's very important. That is why, if you're not familiar about the HTTP and HTTPS, again, I will put the link to distinguish what is HTTP and what is HTTPS, what is the purpose of HTTP and what's the like advantage of using HTTP and disadvantage of using HTTP, or what is the purpose of HTTPS. So if you get the concept of what is HTTP and HTTPS, in this section it will be very clear for you. Because for example, if anyone of you familiar about the SSH and telnet is clear text and it's such as secure. It uses MD5 algorithm, and telnet is, for example, if we do Wireshark to put man in the middle attack to see your all their transaction when you're accessing, for example, any devices. It is very easy through Wireshark. You can find we can find the username and password because that is clear text. That's not encrypted. That is why we mention in here as well. That's why I mentioned in here that you have to keep your eyes on that kind of activities as well. Information on the web server may be changed for malicious purpose. So now information of what? Information of that web server will be changed for what? For malicious purpose. Guys, I need your attention. They just want to put some changes. For example, hey, in order to purchase a t-shirt, click the, for example, click the link, and your website is, for example, is only designed to sell a camera, or your website is only designed for example, selling a shoes. But out of nowhere, when you look at your website, there's another link if you want to purchase, for example, or a camera, or if you want to purchase a t-shirt, click the link. So they make these kind of things for their benefits. Point should be noted if our website is not secure. That's another thing. We can say cyber criminal may gain unauthorized access to resources elsewhere in the organization. Network via successful attack on the web server. Once they are able to access your web server, of course, it makes sense. For example, for our web server, for example, you have a web server, your web server that's come with a 2 IP, public IP, and private IP. Once they get inside your web server from public to inside, now inside, so whoever are inside the network, like local area network, they are easily able to web server locally, right? Once the hacker get inside your web server, they can easily access your network because your web server is connected to the same network. It's very hard, guys. That's why we have to keep our eyes on our web server as well. Cyber criminals maybe also attack external, we can say, entities after compromising a web server. So external is also another chance as well. These attacks can be what launched directly from the compromised server against an external server. So for example, through that server. For example, here's the thing. If you want to access one of the common website, we can say facebook.com. Once you collect the facebook.com, it redirect the fake facebook.com. You probably will say they're using HTTPS. No, they have your DNS access. They compromise your DNS server. They compromise your web server. So they have the full control of your internal request. Point should be noted. It is very, very important to, as a technical person, to keep this stuff in our mind. The last but not least, we can say that the server may be used what as a distribution point for attack tools. Thank you. Here's the thing. What is the problem when a penetrator, people who are finding who are doing this kind of thing, for example, once they hack your computer, they don't want to directly attack any devices through their computer. They never doing these kind of things. They always find someone who are not familiar with the technology. They put their, for example, tools or exploit tools or so on. They put inside. For example, they hack your computer and they put the tools inside your computer. Through your computer, they target the other computers. Now the same has happened through our web server. They will target another servers as well. It's very crazy, no? I know it's crazy, but this is something that we have to keep our eyes and we have to be well aware of these kind of things. Okay, guys, in the next lecture, we're going to discuss about plan and address the security aspect of public web server. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this lecture or in this lecture, we're going to discuss about the solution of what we have shared in the previous lecture. We can say carefully plan and address the security aspect of deployment of the public web server. So what I mean by public web server, you would say like, what do you mean by public web server? We do have a local web server and we have a public web server as well. Point should be noted. Just write it down on a piece of paper. Public web server is that everyone can access from outside to access that kind of server. For example, google.com, yahoo.com, msn.com, bbc.com, cnn.com, any website that you're using, that is a what? That is called, we can say, public web server. But most of the time, the developer, they have a test lab, they have a test environment that is called, we can say, a local web server, which is running inside the office, not outside the office. We testing inside the office. Once we know that everything is okay, we implement it to the production, or we can say to the what? To the public web server. Because it's much more difficult to address security once deployment and implementation have occurred, security should be considered from the initial plan stage. Business are more likely to make decision about configuring computers, or we can say appropriately and constantly, when they develop and use a detail. We can say that we have a static website and we have a dynamic website. Dynamic website is like it is changeable. For example, online shopping. Every day you want to add a new product. So that is like that requires a lot of modification. So first you need to know, is it a static or dynamic? So, as I mentioned in here as well, there are some stuff that we have to know as a technical person. We can say types of personnel required, for example, system and web server administrator, or we can say webmaster, network administrator, and information system security, we can say personnel. Guys, we probably need to hire a specific people for this project. For example, as I mentioned in here, we can say server administrators. We have to give them like, hey, part of your responsibility is to make sure that these things are up to date, check the patches, so on, or whatever software that you're using for the vulnerability tools and so on to make sure that your website is safe. The another is webmaster, or we can say web developer, network administrator, those who are building a connection between public and local area network. Those who make a connection, or those who are providing, we can say, port address translation or network address translation. Their responsibility is to make sure that they should not translate anything rather than the specific website. And meanwhile, we probably need to what? Information system security personnel. So information system security personnel, or we can say a person, is also required and necessary because they have to do the research. They have to know what is going on outside. If anything happen, any patches ready or any patches make a problem, they should let the team know what's going on. That is another thing. A skill and training required by assigning personnel. So now here's the thing. Once you hire a person as a network engineer, or once you hire a person like a server administrator, one thing you should keep in mind: if anyone is serious about their company and project, they need to update or upgrade their employee as well. I've seen many companies, they don't care about the employee. They do, but their employees are a bit lazy, or the coordinator or project manager is a bit like they don't know what to do. But my suggestion is that if you like your team, you have to I mean you have to support them. You have to like provide valuable, or we can say prestigious, education process, and they have to keep themselves up to date from the technology, or for example from system, from network, and from, we can say, cybersecurity and so on, is another important things that you just keep in your mind. Okay, guys, on the next lecture, discuss about implement appropriate security management practice and console. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this lecture, we're gonna discuss about implement appropriate security management practice and controls when maintaining and operating a secure web server. When maintaining and operating a secure web server. Appropriate management practice are essential to what? To operating and maintaining a secure web server. It is as what I said, once we implement the patches, for example, okay, now our server is up to date. We just let it go for 6 to 7 month or 8 month. Oh, we update the server. No, that is not the case. We have to keep each and everything properly, and we have to have a proper plan for our web server. We have to figure out and we have to know what is available. If it is out of date, we have to keep it up to date. And if anything is required, we have to do what? We have to be well aware of that kind of activity as well all the time. Remember that. Security practice including the identification of your company's information system assets and the development of documentation and implementation of the policies and guidelines to help ensure the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of your information system resource. The following practice and control are recommended. So, what are the recommendations? Let's see what are the recommendations in order to have appropriate security management practice. The first thing is a business-wide information system security policy. What does it mean? Mean we should have what? A wide information system security. It's a policy. It should be in the paper. On top of that, server configuration and change control and management. So these are also part of paperwork. You have to know, like, if you want to make any changes, you have to have in the like on paper, on Excel sheet, or if you have any other console, or if you're using any other application, that's also fine. But at least you have to have a record of what you're doing and what would be the next move. Risk assessment and management. Here's another thing that you have to make sure in the worst case scenario what gonna do, what would be solution, so on. But that's also make sure, for example, backup plan anything, because in the production, if you do any make, for example, if you make any changes, it does impact to the entire project. That's why these plans are very important. Now you have to make a standard, and you have to make sure top of that, if you remember, we said we have to classify the information. Beside that, we classify the information. We should have another policy to make sure that the data is not leaked, the information is not leaked, and the information is not disclosed with a stranger. Another thing is security awareness and training. Security awareness and training is, of course, for every single person in the company is necessary, especially for the three guys that I mentioned, for the network admin, for the we can say security person, and for webmaster. These three guys should know what is going on out there, and they have to be well aware of how to protect if anything happen to the web server and so on. So we should have we should have another plan for disaster recovery and worst case scenario if anything happen, or if or if some catastrophic things happen, we should have a proper plan as well. These all should be in the paper, these all should be in the proper plan. So it's not like, hey, what do you think? It's very hard for the technical person to remember these all the stuff. These things are mostly from management. And the last is certification. That's also important for this kind of project. Okay, guys, in the next lecture, we're going to discuss about what is the web server security requirements. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this lecture, we're going to discuss about what is the web server security requirement. Ensure the web server application meets your organization's security requirement. So now you would bit shocked like, wait a minute. So if I install any server in the company or in the server room, so there is a security requirement, and I have to know that the server is fulfill that requirement as well. Thank you. Exactly, this is what I mean. And money respect. The secure installation and configuration of the web server application will mirror and the operating system process discussed above. And now here's the thing. Once you install the operating system, there are some necessary steps that you have to go through before you launch or before you turn that server onto the production or to the public. The first thing you need to know, and you have to be well aware of that, is patch and upgrade the web server application all the time. As a solution, the patch from Microsoft all the time, you have to make sure that Windows is up to date. Or if you're using Linux, so in every, for example, HTTPD, there are many versions. You have to make sure that server or service is up to date. Upgrading, if it required upgrade, for example, if you're using, for example, Windows Server 2012, so now it is time to upgrade it to Windows Server 2019. So probably you will have Windows Server 2019, you have to upgrade it to Windows Server 2021. Points you may know that these are very, very essential and very important as well. Remove or disable unnecessary services application, and we can say sample content. Some of the sample contents is, if you don't need it, for example, if you go to like run and any temporary file which is not necessary, remove it and wipe it. Option number one. The second is remove or disable unnecessary services. Some services you don't need, and you don't need it. You don't. I mean, the web server doesn't need. You have to turn that one off. Application which you don't need. For example, you have, for example, web server, but you have installed TFTP server on it, or you have installed FTP server. That is not something that you need through that specific server. You need to shut that kind of service or application off. Configure web server user authentication and access controls. It's very important. For example, if someone is get inside the web server, and you know, for example, John, or you know that, for example, David is get inside the server, and you know those people are authorized people. So it is a good thing to monitor and track and give a specific permission for a specific people to get inside the web server is a good option. Configure web server resource controls. So there is another tools and we can see application as well. That's come with the Microsoft as well. Both of them. This one and we can say there is another tools that you can use for what? For server user authentication. So that's a specific services or we can say servers you can implement inside the server that you have and test the security of web server application and web contents all the time. For example, you don't know because you know that I have mentioned that the attacks comes from two ways, either from outside to inside or from inside to inside. So if hackers get inside your network, for example, access your guest network, Wi-Fi, and so on, they got inside your web server. So all the time you have to have a tool and toolbars and check the web server vulnerability and so on, and make sure that everything is in the right page. That is very important as well. So in here we can say that we have to avoid, we have to get the control of any types of information that we can say, publishing through our web server, or we have to make sure that which kind of information we are posting on our website and determine what types of information to publish openly, what information should not be published. So there's two things. What information should be published, what information should not be published. These should be carefully examine and review before being published on the public website, including. So here's the thing that you have to keep in your mind, but this stuff is very important. As a technical person, now you know what is going on, but you have to share this knowledge with your owner of company, with the team members, or whoever you think they can, the chain commander or the decision maker. They have to know which kind of information they're supposed to share. So here are some stuff that we have to know. We have to classify the business information. Sensitive information related to your business security. So we should not, for example, share these kind of things. Medical records. Medical records, of course, everyone, including me, we're not feeling well to some company share our medical record. Point should be noted. A business detail physical and information security safeguard. You don't have to share, for example, which kind of firewall you're using, which kind of mechanism you're using, and what tactic and technique you're using in order to save your data center. So this should be very safe and secure, and it should not disclose with anyone, including your brother and sister, because who knows? You know, here's the thing. I'm telling you, social engineering is everywhere. Details about the business, network and information system infrastructure. These are another things that you have to keep in your mind. For example, address ranges. We can say naming and so on. You have to make sure that uh, we should not share this kind of information as well. Information that specify or we can say implies physical security vulnerabilities. For example, hey, you know what? We are working here. This is the headquarter, but our data center is somewhere else. The address is here and there. So this is the thing that you don't have to disclose this kind of information. Point should be noted. Details plans, you don't have to share the details plan, maps, diagram, and so on. Business building, report, and installation. These things is very important. We should not share the entire infrastructure of the building. Some of the company they share the infrastructure of the building and the terms of security and the terms of emergency. They just know what is the, for example, emergency door or so on. But make sure to keep and secure that kind of things. It's very important because the hacker, if they know the vulnerability, if they know the building infrastructure, they can easily get inside your data center and do what they are supposed to do. And then they play soccer. Okay, guys, in the next lecture, we're going to discuss about how to protect web content from unauthorized people. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this lecture, we're going to discuss about how to protect web contents from unauthorized access or modification. All the information available on public website is intended to be public. Of course, it should be public, but assuming a credible review process and policy is in place. It is still important to ensure that the information cannot be modified without, we can say, without authorization. For example, if I want to put, for example, a picture of camera to sale, so I would be the right person to put that camera details and the picture and also to sell that camera. This is called to make sure that the authorized person is doing these kind of activities. Users of such a information rely on its integrity even if the information is not confidential. So even the information is not confidential, so there should be a manager, there should be someone to cross-check what I'm doing before I push it on the public. Based on what I said, turn off some services which we don't need to use, but make sure that some services which are very important, for example, part of the firewall, you have to turn that services on because it should protect the server as well. Now, and install web content, or we can say detect hard drive or logical portion. It's very important and install this stuff as well. Limit uploads to directory that are not readable by the web server. So for example, we have to limit the upload. Top of that, our concern is on storage, and we should not use that web server for the other purpose as well. Define a single directory for all external script or program execute as part of web content. If anything, any script that we're going to run, we have to define it for what purpose, why we're supposed to run it, and what is the purpose of that. It's very important. Disable the use of hard or symbolic link. Forget the symbolic link. Don't make it too complicated. If you know that there's a symbolic link and so on, try to avoid it and don't ever use it. And even there's a portion where you can disable that kind of things. Define a complete web content access matrix. Identify which folder and file in the web server. What doc in the web server document directory and restricted, or we can say which are accessible and by whom should be accessed those kind of information. These are things that we have to keep our eyes on, these kind of things. Deploy user authentication. Back to what I said, you have to specify the user who's supposed to access that server, who's the right person to use that kind of server or services. Or for example, if that is belong to network, there should be a one person which is authorized to, to, to just touch to that server. Use encryption detection system. We have IDS and IPS. If you guys are familiar about encryption detection and encryption prevention as a kind of software, we discussed about these two services as well, but it's a kind of software, or we can say it's a hardware as well. It does come with a firewall. Nowadays, it does come with the antivirus companies as well. If you use that one as well, that is also good, and that's also like control our web contents. If there is any other than what we have shared, then intrusion detection will automatically detect it and give us a report like, hey, you know what, your website is ABC, but now there's a D involved. Is that you or someone else? Add the D, so they will notify you. Protect each, that's also, we can say, protect the all backup and database and so on that we have to make sure from injection attack. These are the things that we have to keep our eyes, and believe me, the web server will be very safe as well. Okay, there are some other stuff that we can say that we can secure our web server is use authentication and cryptographic technologies as appropriate to protect certain types of sensitive data. Public web servers often support technologies for what identify and authenticating user with different privilege for accessing information. So here's the thing. So that is a good thing. For example, if someone is just want to modify the web server, just give them a modified version. And there's a admin user, for example, a system admin, it is not it's not a web server, it is something is wrong with the hard drive, it is something is wrong inside the server. So the system administrator is the responsible person to install the patches and to make sure that everything is okay. But web developer is different. They develop the web and they push the update, and it should get the place and it should be up and running. So sometime we can say that we can use a third-party application through that we can easily find who is using our website and who is not using, and which time, and based on the plan and so on. It does require a lot of things, but we have to keep our eyes on these things as well. On top of that, we can say cryptographic as a functions that can provide a secure channel between a web browser web browser client, and the web server that support encryption. Web servers may be configured to use different cryptographic algorithm, but it is very important. For example, as I mentioned, that HTTPS is does require, for example, SSL certificate. So those website which does come with the HTTPS and the SSL certificate is not expired, that is the most secure website. So we have to use, for example, SSL types of encryption as well, or it based on which kind of encryption you're using, but that is also another types of encryption. Okay, guys, in the next lecture, we're going to discuss about the network infrastructure critical security rules. Guys, that's also important. I need your attention as well. See you guys there. Okay, guys, and then in this lecture, we're going to discuss about network infrastructure critical security rule. What employ network infrastructure to help protect public web servers. The network infrastructure, such as firewall, router, intrusion detection, or intrusion prevention that support the web server, plays a critical security role. In most configuration, the network infrastructure will be the first line of the defense between a public web server and the internet. Network design alone, though it also makes sense, cannot be protect. And there's some other stuff that we have to keep in our mind as well. Configuring, protecting, and analyzing log files all the time. Guys, here's the thing. All the time. If it is a good idea to have, we have a source log server, or we can say log server, to keep the all logs, to make sure to have the all logs, whether it's a critical, whether it's a warning, or so ever. We have to have that logs. Backup critical information frequently. Any information that we have classified and we found that that's a critical, we have to back up that kind of data is very important. Maintaining and protecting these kind of things is very important, and we can say copy of the organization web contents. Guys, this is a good solution. It's a very good solution for web developer. Whatever contents that you had on the website, make sure to have that copy of that data in some other places, because what if some catastrophic things happen? What if someone, like, if anything, for example, the server is gone, for example, the server is stolen and all information is gone. Now at the time you just need to rebuild the website and they copy the configuration file and paste, your website is backed up, and it's going to be very easy. Establishing and following the procedure of the recovery from the compromise is very important. This is another thing that we have to keep in our mind. Testing and applying patches in timely manner. We have to test and applying the patches. So what I mean in here is you have to test before apply on the production. Some of the, we can say the Microsoft patch will create a lot of chaos, it create a lot of problem if you immediately implement in the server. So you have to have a test lab, test it in a test lab. If everything is okay, then launch it on the production. Testing security is also another key, and that is all about website security. Guys, it was valuable information. Believe me, it was very well. It was good information. On the next section, we're gonna discuss about email protection. Guys, get ready and let's dive in to what is email protection and so on the next section. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this section, we're gonna discuss about email protection. One of the another key component, or we can say one of the another most important section that we can call email protection. It is very important. I need your all attention in this section or in this lecture. Email has become a critical part of our everyday business. It is very, very important, and we know that it's very, very important nowadays for us. We can say from internal management to direct customer support. Business must be mindful that a successful email platform starts with the basic principle of email security
to ensure that privacy and protection of the customer and business information. It has been well documented that spam, phishing attempts, and otherwise unsolicited and unwelcome email often account for more than 60% of all email that an individual or business receives. If you look at the junk mail, you may see that like a day more than 100 email you receive it directly move to junk mail. So those are, we can say as a technical person, those are a malware. That's why the company know those are a malware. They directly send it to junk mail. Email is the primary method for spreading virus and malware, and it is one of the easiest, what? One of the easiest to defend against. Consider using email filtering service that your email service, hosting provider, or other cloud providers offer. A local email filter application is also an important component as well. Point should be noted, if you have a local application for email filtering, that is also fine. As much tools that you have, that is better than if you don't have any tools. So in here I mentioned that if you host your, for example, exchange to the cloud or to the third company or whatever company who take care of your email exchange, or if you have an exchange server in the server room, or if you have exchange server in your data center, probably the local email filter application is also important for you. So it is not bad idea to consider using, we can say, email filtering services from the service provider. Almost every company, those who are providing email services, they provide email filtering services. Ask them to enable that portion or ask them to turn that feature on, and you will be fine and there will be no error because they will take some of their responsibility as well. Top of that, ensure that automatic updates are enabled on your email application. Email filter and antivirus programs ensure that the filter are reviewed regularly, that important email and we can say our domains are not blocked in error. For example, if you turn on the email filtering, some of the email that, for example, comes from different company, sometimes the email filtering services turn off that kind of things. That's why you're not receiving any email. So it is better to just check the, we can say, the domain or the name which is not blocked through the email filtering. Technology alone cannot make a business secure. It really makes sense. For example, everything is there, all is well, but what if an employee is not trained properly? That is why you will see some of the company email is under attack and their email is under threat because they forgot, or we can say they neglect, to train their employee. If they don't have a technical person, they can hire for a short time to train them how to use, and they should know what is risk. IT, that's why IT department is built and designed, and that is why most of the company have IT department. For example, if you receive an email and you don't know is it right, good, is it right person, you have a doubt, you just need to forward to IT department. They will take care of that one. They will do the analysis. They will scan that email. They will scan the attachment. They will find out what is going on. They do have specific tools, or they have some genuine application which they pay for that to make sure all employee confidential is safe and no one is using or no one is in the middle attack. On top of that, every employee when they join the company they have to go through this process, and it is not bad idea that every year we have to refresh the course because threat is different, vulnerability is different, or we can say the platform is different. There's a lot of update. For example, now we are a witness of Windows 11. So with the Windows 11, the employees, they are familiar with the Windows 10 but they don't know how to use, they know how to use Windows 11, but there is some other things that they have to know. That is why it is not bad idea every 6 months or every year at least one time you have to train your all employee about how to use, or we can say how to respond the email back, and how they can recognize which email is good email and which email is not good email. Beside that, we have a specific system. Beside that, we pay for the email filtering. Beside that, the cloud computing, we can see the email service provider is tracking or controlling our emails, email communication. Beside that, we can say local application, which is trafficking, which is controlling our email communication. We probably need to that we have to train the employees as well. Okay, guys, and the next lecture we're going to discuss about protect sensitive data sent via email. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this section, or we can say in this lecture, we're going to discuss about protecting sensitive data sent via email or sensitive information. What it is proliferation as a primary tool to communicate what internally and externally. Business email often including sensitive information, whether it is company information that could harm your business or regulated data such as personal health information or personal or we can say personally identifiable information. It is important to ensure that such information is only sent and accessed by those who are entitled to what to see it. Point should be noted. Since email in its native form is not designed to be secure. Exactly. Email communication is not designed to be secure, right? Now the bad guys everywhere and they're trying to do some nasty things. So better to have some filter and better to have some police and better to have some, we can say some protection in order to like to not compromise our data, whether you're using in a company or home or so on. Incidents of misaddressing or other common accident forwarding can lead to data leakage. Business that handle these types of information should consider whether such a information should be sent via email or not. For example, if you have a very strong email protection, you're good. If not, you have to hold your horses and find a better solution. Or we can say at least consider to use email encryption. That is another procedure as well. So if your exchange data or if your exchange server can provide, we can say encryption method, that is fine. If it is not, if the email service provider that provide your email on the cloud, you can ask them. They may give you some we can say they may provide some solution for you as well, such as we can say web enabled drop boxes, and through that it encapsulate your email and the receiver will decapsulate the email, but the receiver will have a primary, we have a like we can say symmetric and asymmetric private key and public key, partial key and so on. But it is not bad idea to use the encryption as well. Okay, another important consideration is the management of email that reside on company messaging system and your user computers. From the cost of storage and backup to legal and requirements. Companies should what? Companies should document how they will handle email retention and implement basic control to help them attain those standards. Many industries have specific rules that dictate how long email can or should be retained, but the basic rule of thumb is only as long as it supported your business effort. Many companies implement, we can say 60 to 90-day retention standard if not complied by law or another retention period. To ensure compliance, companies should consider mandatory archive at the chosen retention, we can say cycle, retention cycle ended, and we can say automatically permanent email remove after another set point. We can say such as 180 or 360 days in archives. In addition, organizations should what? Discourage the use of personal folder or employees' computers, most often configurable from the email system level, as this will make it more difficult to what? To manage company standard. These are the things that you have to keep in your mind. For example, if you know some employee is very important, you just go ahead and record or archive that email or just
no rules and regulation, and it depends on how your company effort. And sometimes you should keep in your mind, if you archive the email on the cloud service provider will charge you because you're using their storage. Or if you want to download anywhere external hard drive or in your storage area system or so ever, if you have that is fine, but at least you have to do some research before you do some archiving as well. Okay guys, in the next lecture we're going to discuss about how to develop an email usage policy. See you guys there.
Okay, guys, in this section, we will learn some tactic and technique and the most key component about develop an email usage policy. You may ask this question like, what? Since I have my email, do I supposed to follow some rules and regulation and policy? Yes, if that is a company email and that's not your personal email, there should be some restriction, guys. It is very important. I've seen some people, they are using the company emails for their personal usage. So if we have a specific policy, if we have what a specific policy, that policy may definitely hold their horses to not use the company emails for their personal usage. Or we can say policies are important for setting what expectations with your employees or users, and for developing what standard to ensure adherence to your published policies. Your policies should be easy to read. Guys, I have read some policies. It is very complicated. They use very strong words. It is okay, but try to use the common word and make it very easy and try to make it the way as everyone can read. Key area to address including what the company email system should and should not be used for. Here's the thing. The key for the policy is for what to where you can use that email and where you cannot use that email is very important, and what data are allowed to be transmitted. So I've seen if you want to send your picture, for example, you went to picnic and you want to send this picture to your colleagues, and that's very heavy picture. Or I've seen some people they send a video, it's very heavy, that is fine, but there should be what? There should be rules and regulation. For example, you're not allowed to share your personal picture to one of your colleagues or through the we can say through the company email. Does that make sense or not? So we have to do what? We have to keep our eyes in this kind of activity as well. Other policy areas should be address, retention, we can say privacy and acceptable use depending on your business, and you may need to have a email monitoring system as well to monitor who is doing what in case if you have a doubt and you heard and you found that something is going wrong in the email transmission. So probably you need to keep your eyes on something which is not going well. The rights of the business and the users should be documented in the policy as well. It should be included in the policy. The policy should be part of your general and user awareness training and review for update on yearly basis. So once you finalize the policy, you have to review it. And when you hire someone at the beginning, you have to train them. You have to let them know. I've seen some people, some company, they hire someone and they are not training them. They just let them go. Like, okay, guys, in the next lecture and the next section, we're gonna discuss about mobile devices. That is very, very, very important as well. See you guys there.
Okay, guys, welcome to another section. And this section is another section. I can say it's key components, very important. You probably say that in every section you will see are important and key component. Believe me, threat is everywhere, vulnerability is everywhere, and I say that risk does not wither to zero.
The more we put our attention, our company data or an organization data, even at home data, is better than being a careless and doing nothing. Okay, I need your attention, guys. This section is very important. We're gonna talk about mobile devices protection. If your company use mobile devices to what to conduct company business, such as accessing company email or sensitive data, pay close attention to mobile what security and potential threat that can expose and compromise your overall business network. The section describe the mobile threat and mobile threat environment and the practice that small business can use to help secure devices such as smartphones, tablets, and Wi-Fi, or we can say Wi-Fi enable in our laptop. Many organizations are what finding that employee are most productive when using mobile devices, and the benefit are too great to ignore. But while mobility can increase workplace what productivity, allowing employees to bring their own mobile devices into the enterprise can create significant security and management challenges. I don't mean you don't have to bring your phone, but you have to make sure when you're hiring someone for the sensitive data or when you hire for a sensitive department, so there should be a rule and regulation that they are not allowed to what? They are not allowed to bring their phone. If they are bringing their phone, they should, we can say, put in the banker, or there should be a specific, we can say like we have a bookshelf, there should be a specific place where they should turn off their phone. Even they turn on their phone, but they're not allowed to have that phone while they get inside that area. So therefore we can say data loss and data breach caused by loss of stolen phones, creating big challenges. So it is very important that we have to keep our eyes on our smart devices. Top threats targeting mobile devices. Data loss is the first threats. What? Data loss is the first threat. An employee or hacker access sensitive information from device or network. Point should be noted. This can be what? Unintentionally or malicious, and is considered the biggest threat to mobile devices. This is what? The first threat. What is the second threat? Social engineering attacks. A cyber criminal attempt to trick user to disclose sensitive information or install malware. Method including phishing and target attacks. Malware, malicious software that include traditional computer virus, computer worms, and Trojan horse programs. These are the traditional virus, right? A specific, we can say example including IKE worm, targeting ISO-based devices. Now you would say what is ISO-based devices? The iPhone that you have. PG apps can enroll infected Android devices in the collection of hacker control, or we can say zombie devices known as botnet. So now we found that both operating system nowadays, two companies are so famous, iPhone and Samsung. So there are plenty of other companies, but these are more popular. They have a very strong competition. iPhone is using ISO and Samsung is using Android operating system. Now we found that there are viruses for both of them, so they are equal. Data integrity threats. Attempts to crack or modify data in order to disrupt operations of a business for financial gain. This can also occur unintentionally. Resource abuse. Attempt to misuse network devices. An example including sending spam from the compromised devices or denial of services. Attacks using computing resources of the compromised devices, or we can say web and network-based attack launched by malicious website or install malware or steal confidential data that flows through it. Okay guys, in the next lecture we're going to discuss about a step can help to ensure company information is protected. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this lecture, we're going to discuss about the steps can help to ensure company information is protected. This including requiring all mobile device that connect to business network be equipped
with the security software and password protection, and providing general security training to make employees aware of what important of security practice from mobile devices. Use security software on all smartphones. Security software, we can say, specially designed for smartphones, can stop hackers and prevent cyber criminals from stealing your information or spying on you when you use public network. It can detect and remove virus and other mobile threat before they cause you problems. It can also what eliminate annoying text and multimedia spam message. So probably the good idea is to use what security software for our smart devices, whether you're using Android or you're using iPhone. Make sure all software is up to date. Guys, it's not only software. I always mention that you have to make sure that operating system, whether you're using Linux, whether you're using Windows or Microsoft or Mac OS, you have to make sure that all operating system is up to date. Now, what we're gonna say that your smartphone that you have, when you see that the prompt is like you have to update your OS or upgrade the OS, you have to go ahead and upgrade the OS because the company know there's some leaks, there's some threat, there's some issue, they want to fix it. Encrypt the data on mobile devices. Business and personal information is stored on mobile device is often sensitive. Encrypting this data is another must. If a device is lost and SIM card is stolen, the thief will not be able to access the data if the proper encryption technology is needed on the devices. It is important to use a strong password to protect what data is stored on mobile devices. This will go a long way toward keeping a thief from accessing sensitive data if the device is lost or hacked. So, it's another way that we have to make sure that our smart device is very secure by simply allowing or implementing a very strong password. Users should be conscious of who may be looking over their shoulder. It is also important when you're using a smartphone, you just look at your shoulder and see who is behind you. If there is no one, that's fine, you can use it. But if not, sometimes hackers are always, especially at the open area or public area, they are trying to see which kind of information you're looking, how to type your password, and so on. So it is not bad idea to keep our eyes. These things coming from when you train your employees, they will keep their eyes on these kind of things, believe me guys. So we probably need to train the employees like you don't have to open any text, or when you see some suspicious email on your phone, you don't have to open it. That's gonna be a malware, and that malware will automatically install a kind of software inside your phone, but that's gonna be a tunnel in between your phone and the hacker computer. Point should be noted, we have to train the employee to make sure and conscious while you're accessing your phone, or when you receive any text, or when you receive any email. Another method, we can say the set a reporting procedure for lost or stolen equipment in the case of loss or theft. Of course, I've seen some people they lost their phone, but it doesn't mean it's not possible. It is possible. We do have to have what? We do have to have a policy, or we can say reporting system and so on. At least the management should all know what to do next. For example, okay, now the phone is gone. It is hard to we can it is hard to find that phone, right? It is gone. So what is the next step? And the last but not least, we can say ensure all devices are wiped clean, and we can say most mobile devices have reset function that allow all data to be wiped. SIM card should also what be removed and destroyed as well. On the next section, we're gonna discuss about employees protection. Guys, see you there. Okay, guys, welcome to another section, which is very important, and we can say these are the another key component in my course as employees. Let's see what we have and how employees are important and what would be the procedure when we hiring someone. Business must establish formal recruiting and what employment process to control and preserve the quality of their employees. So, if you appreciate, if you like your employees, you have to make sure when you hiring someone, that person should be a good person, that person have a good ethic and good character and have a good background check. That is the only thing that you have to make sure. Many employers have learned hard way that hiring someone with a criminal record, there you go, falsified what credential or undesirable background can create a legal and financial nightmare. If you don't know who you're hiring, this is gonna happen. Without exercising due diligence in hiring, employers run the risk of making unwise hiring choice that can lead to what? To workplace violence, including thieves, so on. The solution is develop a hiring process that properly feeds candidates. The hiring process should be what? Collaborative effort among different groups of your organization, including recruitment, human resource security, legal and management teams. It is important to have solid application resume interview and reference checking process to identify potential gaps and issues that may appear in a background check. So we need to have what? We need to have a proper plan and we need to have what? We need to have a proper application or a procedure when we're hiring someone. An online employment screening resource called the Online Safe Hiring What certification course can help you to set what the groundwork for a safe recruitment process. So there's a course by the name of, if you can find online safe hiring certification course, that will definitely help you, and they will teach you if you're working in human resource department and so on, that will help you to make sure that you're hiring the right person. Perform background check and credentialing is another key component. Background checks are essentially and must be consistent. Point should be noted. Using a background check screening company is highly recommended. So you have to background check or what a screening check. You have to make sure many people now the research shows that most of the people lies on their resume. So we just need to know either he is right or wrong. The standard background screening should including the following checks: employment verification, education verification, criminal records, drug test, the U.S. Treasury Office of Foreign Affairs and Control if you're living in the United States. Sex offender registries, social security trace, and violation of depend on type of your business. It depends on which kind of business you have, but these are not bad idea to cross check with someone when you're hiring. The last but not least, take care in the dealing with the third party employers. Should properly vet partner companies through which your organization hires third party consultants. So when you are not hiring directly and you do have a third party company that hiring for you, you have to cross check with them. On the next lecture, we're going to discuss about set access controls for employees. Guys, see you there. Okay, guys, in this section, we're gonna learn some very important topic, and I need your attention in here, guys. Both client data and internal company data are considered confidential and need what particular care when viewed, stored, used, transmit, or disposed. It is important to what analyze the rule of each employee and set data access control based on upon the rule. So we have to set a rule based on the employee what privilege or the rules and regulation and the privilege that they have. If a rule does not require the employee to ever use sensitive data, the employee's access to the data should be what strictly prohibited. However, If the rule required the employee to work with the sensitive data, the level of access must be analyzed truly and be assigned in a controlled and terse manner following privilege principle, which allow the employee to only access data that is necessary to perform his or her job. If the organization does not have a system in place to control data access, the following procedure or rule we can say are strongly recommended. Every employee should never access or view client data without what violate business reason. Access should be on a need to know basis. Need to know basis point should be noted. Never provide confidential data to anyone, client, representative, business partner, or even other employees, unless you are sure of the identity and authority of that person. Never use client data for development, testing, training, what presentation or any purpose other than providing production services, client-specific tests, or production diagnostics. Only properly sanitized data that cannot be traced to the client. Always use secure transmission methods such as secure email, secure file transfer from application to application, and encryption or encrypted electronic media such as CDs, USB drive, or tape, and so on. We have to make sure that we should follow some encryption procedure as well. Always keep confidential data, hard copy and electronic, only as long as it is needed. Remember that if needed, we have to keep it. If we are not needed, we have to dispose it. But follow a clean disk policy. Always use only what approved document disposal services or shred all hard copy document containing confidential information when finished using them. Okay guys, on the next lecture we're gonna discuss about what employees need to know. That is another important portion and I need your attention there as well. Guys, see you there. Okay guys, my suggestion is all the time to what? To provide training for employees all the time, every 3 months, every 6 months, at least every year, at least one time, you have to provide the training, the same training. You don't have to modify the instruction, or if some needs, you can add or modify. If it is not, you just need to train them again and again. For example, if someone is working in HR department, or someone is working in finance department, or someone is working in marketing department, or someone is working in different department, so one time, once they got the training, then next day they will forget what they're supposed to do. That is why reputation is very important. In order, if you respect your company data, if you love what you're doing, and if you like where you're working, and if you are a genuine person, my suggestion is to provide what consistent training for employee is necessary. Security awareness training teaches the employee to understand system vulnerabilities and threat to business what operations that are present when using a computer on a business network. When someone is using computer, it's not only computer, any types of digital device they're using, like a smartphone, we can say personal computer or small computer or mini computer, so on, any kind of device that they're using which is using our network, that is something that we have to keep our eyes and let them know how to use and what's the rules and regulation and policies and so on. A strong IT security program must include training IT users on the security policy. So even it is not non-technical people, but IT user and IT members or IT peoples must keep their education up to date and should be well aware of how to react based on some circumstances, or we can say procedures and techniques, as well as the variety of management operation and technology control necessary and available to keep IT what resources secure. An additional IT infrastructure manager must have the skill necessary to carry out their assigned duties effectively. So, what employees need to know, understand, and what comply with the security policy and procedure. Be what appropriately trained
and the rules of behavior for the system and application to which they have access. Work with the management to meet training needs. Keep software and application up to date and with the security patches. So now this thing is belong to IT department. They have to keep the software and application or any types of devices that they have in their IT department. They have to keep their devices up to date and they have to make sure that patches are up to date as well. Be aware of action they can take to better protect company information. That is another things. These are important things. Government issue identification number such as social security number, driver license. On top of that, we can say financial account information such as bank account number, credit card, and so on. We can say medical records. If there's a hospital, we don't have to disclose the medical record with anyone. Health insurance, what information? Health insurance information. If someone is using the same, we can say group number, the same number with the same ID, and they will charge your what? Your health insurance company. Salary information. That is a law. It is a violation if you share your salary with someone like I'm earning this much. This is not what you're supposed to share with everyone. Password and training should cover security policy for all means of access and transmission method, including secure database, email file transfer, encryption, electronic media, and hard copies. These are the things that, for example, if you want to send an email, you have to make sure who you're sending and who are they. On top of that, if you have a portable device, for example pen drive or flash drive, or you want to write in the cd disk, so it should be encrypted and the right person know how to decrypt that kind of information and so on. The last but not least, we can say implement employee departure checklist. Create a security checkout, we can say checklist for employees that are no longer with your company. Checklist for employees that are no longer with your company or regardless of their reason for leaving. Point should be noted. And in United States, it is a rule. Remember that whether you have a small business or big business, ensure terminated employee account or what erase on all network device and drives immediately. This is especially true for any device that may have been taken what offsite such as laptop and smartphone. Okay guys, see you on the next lecture. Okay guys, in this section we're gonna discuss about facility security. We can say protecting employees and members of the public who visit your facility is a complex and challenging responsibilities. It is also one of your company's top priorities. Point should be noted. I know it is tough, but it is a part of our responsibility. The physical security of the facility depend on a number of security decisions that can be identified through a comprehensive risk management process. The objective of risk management is to identify an achievable level of protection for your company that corresponds as closely as possible to the level of risk without what exceeding the risk. It is easy to think about physical security of your company's facility as merely an exercise in maintaining control of access point and ensuring there is complete visibility in areas that are determined to be of high risk, either because of the threat of easy public access or because of the value of information located nearby. However, maintaining security of your company facilities also includes the physical environment of public space For instance, employees whose computers have access to sensitive information should not have their computer what monitors oriented toward public accessible space such as what reception area, check-in desk, and what waiting rooms. Easy to grab equipment that could contain sensitive or personally identifiable information such as laptops, because laptops are very easy, it's very light nowadays. Competition with the tech sector is a lot. They just want to make it as light, as tiny, as slim as it is possible. But as far as you know that you are accessing sensitive information, you should make sure to what, to take care of your laptop, because that is light and it's very easy to grab. Electronic table, that cell phone or so on, should be located away from public area. What? Should be located away from public area. If you have an environment where the employees are working in the waiting room or reception area, train them to not leave these types of what? These types of devices out on their desk, because that is not what? That is not secure. It is very easy to someone grab it and put it in his, for example, laptop bag and so on. Point should be noted. Consider using cable locks as an easy way to increase security for laptop computers. Most laptops feature or lock port for the cable, which cannot be connected to the user desk. Be sure to store the key to the cable lock in a secure location away from the desk. The computer is locked. Through the Microsoft, even we have with the Linux and we have with the macOS as well, that you can block the USB ports as well. Some vulnerability or some software, once they connect to your computer, they can easily grab the all information that they're supposed to need. On top of that, once they connect the USB to your computer, they can easily run what malware software inside your computer. So make sure to turn off and shut or disable the port that you didn't need to use. In cases that extremely sensitive information is stored on the laptop, consider adding the what? LoJack software system. We have a LoJack software system as well. The software runs unnoticed and allow law enforcement to locate what stolen computer morely easy, and also allow administrator to what, wipe the hard drive remotely if necessary or if it's important. The last but not least, we can say consider implementing a badge identification system for all employees, and train employees to stop and question anyone in the operational business area without a badge or who appear stranger and so on. Okay guys, in the next lecture we're gonna discuss about what to minimize and safeguard. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this lecture, we're going to discuss about what to minimize and safeguard. Minimize and safeguard printed materials with the sensitive information. Now you would say, oh, it makes sense. Printing documents. Of course, it really makes sense. Sometimes the printer has an issue, so when you troubleshoot, see, as a witness, as a person who work in a IT department, sometimes printer gives an error. For example, once you fix the error, you will see that there was a lot of requests on the queue inside the printer. Once the printer is fixed, that document will be printed automatically. So if a person print a document which is very sensitive through that printer, if that printer is down or that printer has an error, so once we fix the printer, we have to keep our eyes that which kind of job is in queue, and we have to cancel most of the job which was in the process or so on, in order to make sure that we are saving and we are take care of the sensitive information in our company or organization. Probably the most effective way to minimize the risk of what, losing control of sensitive information from printed material is to minimize the amount of printed material that contains sensitive information. So there's another solution, like we have to minimize it. For example, if we want to print it, we should not print it to the network printer. Overall, we have two types of printer. How many types of printer do we have? Two types of network printer. We have what? We have a local printer, and we have we can say a network printer. If you're not familiar about the local printer and network printer, I do have a specific course which is dedicated for Network Plus, and that is very valuable. I have heard and received some good feedback from students as well. Go ahead and grab that class, and I'm sure you will enjoy learning that class as well. Safeguard copies of materials containing sensitive information, but providing employees with the what? The locking file, what? Cabinets, or we can say saves. We have to provide a cabinet for employees in order to save the copy of the files first. And the second is that we can provide a what? A local printer, like through USB. They can print it. I mean, it's right behind the desk. Make it a standard for operating procedure to lock up important information. Train employees to understand that simply leaving the wrong printed materials on the desk in view of the general public can result in what? Consequences that impact the entire company and your customers. Your mail center can introduce a wide range of potential threats to your business. So your company should ensure that mail manager understand the range of screening procedure and evaluate them in the terms of your specific operational requirement. Okay, guys, in the next lecture, we're going to discuss why your destroyed information are still available. So that is also not safe, right? See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this lecture, we're going to discuss about why your destroyed information are still available. Dispose of treasure security. Too often sensitive information, including customer, personally identifiable information, business, financial, and other data and company system access information is available for anyone to find anywhere in the trash. You can easily find it. Why? Because you haven't trained the employee to take care of the sensitive information, right? That is why. And investing in the business security portion is very important. Shredders and buy enough of them to make it what convenient for employees. Point should be noted. So there are a company who will provide you a locked container where you can put your papers there until it is shredded, or develop a standard procedure all the time. Develop a standard procedure and employees training program to ensure that everyone in your company is aware of what types of information need to be shredded. Dispose electronic equipment securely. Be aware that emptying the recycle bin on your desktop or deleting document from folders on your computer or other electronic device may not what delete information forever. Those with advanced computer skill can still access your information even after you think you have destroyed. Disposing of electronic equipment required a skilled specialist in order to ensure the security of sensitive information continued within that equipment. If outside help, such as an experienced electronic equipment recycler and data security vendor, is not available or too expensive, you should what? You should at minimum remove computer hard drive and have them shredded. Also be mindful of risk with the other types of equipment associated with the computer. We can say equipment including CDs and thumb drive or pen drive, so on. So you have to make sure that have that kind of devices. With the operating system, I do remember there is a chance to, for example, if you don't have money, you can, if you're using Windows, you just need to, for example, format with the Linux operating system. If you want to dispose, for example, your laptop or keyboard, the best way is to hold the hard drive and get away the cases. We don't need RAM, random access memories. That's something else. We don't need that one as well. But hard drive is that is we can call the permanent memory, or we can say storage. You can keep that one as well to make sure that you have the all data which was inside that laptop or computer. Train your employees in facility security procedure. Again, training is all the time the key component, and it is very essential as well. A security breach of the customer information or or we can say breach of internal company information can result a public loss of confidence in your company. So it really makes sense, guys. For example, if someone want to bring a project to your company, once they walk into your company, I mean, for example, the receptionist will ask you like, how can I help you? You will say like, hey, we are here to meet John, and she will leave her computer without logging out or lock the operating system or log out from the operating system. So this is the first thing that they notice, the door and so on. But okay, guys, I didn't want to eat up your time. On the next section, we have another security portion, which is called operational security. Guys, that is also another important. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this section, we're going to discuss about operational security. One of the another most key component in my course would be operational security. Guys, I need your attention. It is very essential, and these things are very, very important. It is good to have more tools in the toolbox. You know what I'm saying. While operational security, or OPSec, has its origins in securing information important to military operations, it has application across the business community today. In a commercial context, OPSec is the process of denying hackers access to any information about the capabilities or intentions of business by identifying, controlling, and protecting evidence of the planning and execution of activities that are essential to the success of operations. OPSec is a continuous process that what consists of five distinct actions. Identify information that is critical to your business. Analyze the threat that critical information. Analyze the vulnerabilities to your business that would allow a cyber criminal to access critical information. Assess the risk to your business if the vulnerabilities are exploited. Apply countermeasure to mitigate the risk factors. We can see these are the five process that consist of five, we can see distinct action of what? Operational security. Okay, guys, on the next lecture, we're going to discuss about how to identify critical information. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this lecture, we're going to discuss about how to identify critical information. The identification of critical information is important in that it focuses the reminder of the operational security process on what? On protecting vital information rather than attempting to what? To protect all information relevant to business operations. So, for example, customer list and contact information, contracts, patents and intellectual property, leases and deeds, policy manual, article of incorporation, corporate paper, laboratory notebooks, audio tips, video tip, photographs and slides, a strategic plan and board meeting. Use your company's mission as a guide for determining what data are truly vital. Okay, guys, in the next lecture, we're gonna discuss about analyze threats. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this section, we're gonna discuss about analyze threats. Analyze threat. This action involves research and analysis to identify likely cybercriminal who may attempt to obtain critical information regarding your company's operations, or we can say operation security planners in your business should answer the following critical information question. I need you guys attention. It is very critical question. If, for example, whoever answered this question, there will be a less chance for hacker to get inside your company and do whatever they supposed to do. The first question is who might be a cyber criminal? Competitors, company who have a competition with your company, politically motivated or hackers and etc. Try to identify this. What are the cyber criminals' goal? What they want? Why they want to gain access in our company? Why they want to gain access to our critical information? Why they are trying to deny the services? Why they are entrapping our network devices? Why they are putting themselves as a man in the middle attack and listening our all voice over IP data or information? These are the things that we have to know and we have to find the answer. What action made the cyber criminal take? What critical information does the cyber criminal already have? There's a question mark. What critical information does the cyber criminal already have on your company's operation? Like we can say, what is already public available? Which kind of information is already public available? Your company physical address, your company phone number, your company all employees information. These are, it is not legal to find your information in someone else's website. For example, if you check your employee, there's a website, they said, oh, we know this information, just pay, we want to give you the all information about this person. That is a violation of identification. In the next lecture, we're going to discuss about analyze vulnerabilities. That is also another key component. I need your attention there as well. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in the previous lecture, we discussed about analyze threats. In this lecture, we're going to discuss about analyze vulnerabilities. The purpose of this action is to identify the vulnerabilities of your business and protecting critical information. It requires examining each aspect of security that seek to protect your critical information and then what comparing those indicators with the threats identified in the previous step. Don't forget that common vulnerabilities for a small business include the following: poorly secured mobile device that have access to critical information. So it's not poorly, even I've seen some company doesn't have any security policy for the mobile devices. Lack of policy on what information and network equipment can be taken home from work or taken aboard on travel. This is another thing that I've seen some people or even can't remember what are these. Storage of critical information on personal email account or other non-company networks. Lack of policy. This is what I say. Lack of policy on what business information can be posted to or accessed by social network site. Okay guys, on the next lecture we're going to discuss about assess risk. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this presentation, we're going to discuss about assess risk. This action has two components. How many components? Two components. I need your attention. First, we can say operational security managers must analyze the vulnerabilities identified in the previous action and identify what possible operational security measures to what mitigate each one. Second is specify or a specific operational security measure must be selected for what execution based upon a risk assessment done by your company's senior leadership. And then it is time to do what? It is time to take an action. Your company's leadership review and implement the what? Operational security measures selected in the assessment of risk action. Before operational security measure can be selected, security objectives and critical information must be known. Indicators identify and vulnerabilities assessed. Okay, guys, this was a very important section. On the next section, we're gonna discuss about payment cards. See you guys there. hello everyone. Once again, in this section, we're going to discuss about payment cards protection, and this is another most important and we can say key component, and we have to keep our eyes on this kind of information as well. If your business accepts payment by credit card or debit cards, it is important to have what security steps in place to ensure your customer information is safe. You also may have security obligation, or we can say agreement with your bank or payment service processor. Point should be noted. Those who are helping you for the payment, for example, if you ask for the bank gave you submission, the bank gave you the debit card or credit card, the bank will open credit card, debit card for you, or saving account or checking account, and so on. So you probably need their help as well. They probably need your help as well. But at meanwhile, you need to be well aware of what is going on. These entities can help you to prevent fraud. Point should be noted. And additional free resources and general security tips are available to learn how to keep sensitive information beyond payment information safe. So you probably need to do some research as well. So do your research, ask the bank. The bank will set up an appointment. They will hire someone to train you. That is another step. On top of that, you can do what? You can do some research. There are some few steps that we have to understand. For example, we can say understand and catalog customer and card what data you keep. Make a list of what? Make a list of the types of customer and card information you collect and keep. Names, address, identification information, payment card numbers, magnetic strips, data, bank account details, and social security numbers. It is not only card numbers criminal want. Point should be noted. It is not what only card number or criminals want. They are looking for all types of personal information. For what? Especially if it helps them to what? Commit identity fraud. So now you should keep your eyes on these kind of things as well. Understand where you keep such information and how it is protected. You have to make sure that when you have, for example, the list or catalog or so on, you have to make sure where you keep it and how it is safe. Determine who has access to this data. Who has access to this data? Do you have a policy, rules, regulation? Do you have assigned someone or a specific person who can grab or get the information from there or not? Don't forget that. Determine who has access to this data and if they need to have access. So who will be allowed to access this information or who would be not allowed to access this information. Okay guys, on the next lecture we're going to discuss about how to evaluate all the data you store. See you guys there. Okay guys, in this lecture we're going to discuss about evaluate whether you need to keep all the data you store or not. Once you know what information you collect and store, evaluate whether you really need to keep it or not. Often business may not realize they are logging or otherwise keeping unnecessary data until they conduct an audit. Not keeping sensitive data. What not keeping sensitive data in storage makes it harder for criminals to steal it. So now here's the thing. So you found there's another key. You don't have to keep what the most important or we can say sensitive data in your office. Does that make sense or not? So it's very, very, very difficult for hacker to know where you have put that kind of sensitive data. If you have been using card number for purpose other than payment transaction, such as we can say, such as customer loyalty program as your merchant process, if you can use alternative what data and a state recognition. For example, it is technology that makes card number and replace it with what alternative number that can be used
for fraud. There are some stuff here we can say use secure tool and services. The payment industry. What? The payment industry maintaining list of the hardware, software and service provider who have been what? Validated against industry security requirement. Point should be noted. The company is also working hard to make sure that there is no violation, there is no any attack, there is no any noise, there is no any ice, and the transaction are in between two person or in between machine and person. A small business that use integrated payment system in which card terminal is connected to the larger computer system can check the list of the what validated payment application to make sure any software they employ has been tested. So they are testing the application, any kind of application that you're using. For example, if you're a website developer, if you're developing any website, but if you have everything on your site clean, when you connect to your, for example, application or database to their bank information and so on, they do have some certain procedure and so on in order to make sure that the tunnel is clean and there is no any noise in the middle. Point should be noted. Have a conversation about security with your provider if the products or services you are currently using are not on the list. Okay, guys, on the next lecture, we're going to discuss, do you need control access? Do we need to have a control access? Answer this question will be answered in the next lecture. See you guys there. Okay, guys, what do you think? Do we need control access? What do you think? Of course, yes, we do need control access. So that's why we have a specific presentation for control access to payment system. Whether you use or more complicated payment system or simple standalone terminal, make sure what? Make sure you're carefully control access. So you have to have a carefully what? Control access. Isolate payment system from other less secure programs. There's another important things, especially those connected to the internet. For example, don't use the same computer to process payment and surf the internet. Change the computer. You don't have to use one computer for all purpose. That is why if that computer is attacked, if that computer is infected with the malware and ransomware or any kind of things that is happening out there, if it happened, so mean you lost the all things. So better to have or use different computer. That is a good solution. Control or limit access to payment system to only employees who need access. So back to classification data, and we have to classify the employees based on the privilege, whether who's supposed to access what. So we have discussed about this topic already, and we don't have to eat up our time in discussing, rediscussing about the same subject again. So we have discussed this one. Make sure you use a secure system for remote access or eliminate remote access if you do not need it so that criminals cannot what? Infiltrate your system from the internet. So my suggestion is all the time, do not ever enable the remote services, especially the server, which is very critical server, which is very important server, or we can say sensitive information is inside. If you have a plan, for example, pandemics and catastrophic things happen, my suggestion is try to install VPN. Use a VPN, and whoever want to access that server remotely, they should access through VPN. Point should be noted. And we can say that use security tools and resources. Work with your bank or what processor and ask about the anti-fraud measures. So the bank that the all money is back and forth to their bank and you receive and so on, better to ask them, they do have a specific procedure or training or whatever you name it, which is called the anti-fraud measures. Ask them if they can provide that kind of tools or that kind of training and so on.
but that is also important. We can say tools and services you can use to ensure criminals cannot use a stolen card information at your business. The last but not least, remember these security basics. These are basics, but it is very essential, guys. Use a strong, unique password and change them frequently. It is a visual, right? Use up-to-date firewall and antivirus technologies. One thing I want to tell you, as a responsible person, if you are working in a company or organization where they cannot afford it or they are not listening to you, your responsibility is to send them an email, and while you're discussing and you have set up meeting or so on, mention that the firewall is expired and an antivirus is old fashioned and old tradition, and I'm saying you if anything happened, the blame should not come to me. That is it. You save your job, you save your company, and it is depend on the management if they take action to upgrade the firewall, upgrade the antivirus, and so on. For example, operating system. I've seen friend of mine, they were using Windows Server 2008, and he asked like, "Hey, we are using Windows Server 2008. What is the solution?" I said, "My solution for this kind of situation or scenario is to change it to Windows 2019." They said, "I have shared a lot of things with the team, with the company, but they said no, we don't need to upgrade it." I was like, "You have to just send them an email, let them know here's an issue. So you're gonna suffer or you just wait and watch." Punching method. Do not click on suspicious what link you may receive by email or encounter online. I'm sure you're a technical person. Now you're well aware of what you do, what you're not supposed to do. But the problem is if we neglect to share this information with our colleagues, with the employee, with whoever is pursuing and chasing, if even they are not pursuing and chasing for saving our job, for saving the company organization data and the more sensitive information and so on, we have to let them know it's a part of their responsibility. It is not a choice. It is that you have to make sure when you receive any email, which you didn't know which kind of email is that sure, if you have a doubt, forward it to IT department. Or if you receive any link like, hey, it's very like 90% discount. How is it possible 90% discount? Click the link and get the 90% discount for purchasing Xbox game. So first of all, we have to use our logic, then share with IT department. Anyway, I don't want to eat up your time, guys. In the next lecture, incident response and reporting. That is also important in case of anything happen. What should we react? See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this section, we're going to discuss about incident response. Even well implemented cybersecurity structure and plan may not prevent all breach of your business data defenses. That's why I say the threat multiplied by vulnerability is equal to risk. But one thing you should keep in your mind that risk well does not wither to zero. That is why you need to have or we should have alternative plan as well. So be sure to have what procedures in place to respond to security breaches when they occur. Physically breaches including real world crimes such as what burglars and equipment theft as well as any even when your company's equipment is misplaced or lost in the transit. Unauthorized device may be installed on a system or network, permitting further compromise of data confidentiality and integrity. Physical breaches can also result from reselling, donating, or recycling what old equipment that has not been properly cleansed. Point should be noted. I have seen some company they want to donate some laptop, we don't need that laptop anymore or we don't need that computer anymore. But my suggestion is to grab the hard drive. Or you have to make sure to format two, three, four times that hard drive to Linux, to Microsoft, and so on, to make sure that there is no data are accessed by unauthorized individuals remotely, or we can say are used by unauthorized individuals to perform malicious activities. This can also include breaches to network router and firewalls, both within and outside your organization's boundary and control. Data breach can also occur if sensitive information is left improperly exposed by mistakes. What action we're gonna take? Notify law enforcement if necessary. Depending on the types of the breach and type of business, your company may be required to notify local law enforcement or other government authorities upon discovery of the data breach. In the event of exposure or customer information, you should notify the customers of the incident, record the data that was lost or exposed, and record and measure taken to ensure against future exposure. Okay, guys, I don't want to eat up your time. On the next lecture, we're going to discuss about how to limit the damage. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this section, we're going to discuss how to limit the damage. Once your company become aware that the breach has occurred, I mean, it happened, technically personal and business decision makers should work together to decide on the most what practical and effective containment plan. Containment plans will vary from one set of circumstances to the next, and they may quickly become intensive in terms of time and resources from both the technical and business impact perspective. In any case, the containment of the data breach should be focused on determining the extent of the compromise and preserving the confidentiality and integrity of the sensitive data that has not yet been stolen or disclosed is a good solution. For example, if one computer infected with ransomware messaging is unplugged from the network, or when you know that there is only two, three computer infected, the rest of the computer should shut the main switch of that switch. It's I know you would see it's untechnical. It is what it is because nowadays the malware they come with a warm spray. They spray the inside the network. I'm telling in advance. So we have to make sure if one computer is infected, the rest should turn off, or we have to take some immediate action. Other issue affected the selection of what execution of containment plan, including your company's what reputation risk management, a strategy, and decision on whether to request outside assistance. That is not a bad idea in case like if you don't know what to do. There are some companies they come with a good solution and they come and help you, but you have to make sure to like you have to come with the very straightforward and you have to take a decision within the second, not a minute, because virus is everywhere. It is going to infect the entire your company, either from local or federal law enforcement, a private what consultants frame, or the company incident response organizations such as US CERT. Begin recovery left. Cleaning a network or system or all trace of the malicious code can often intend having to completely wipe all the storage media and a clean install. So here's the thing. Once you know that it happened and you found it and you eliminate it, you block it, but you have to make sure the infected computer should my suggestion is install the operating system from scratch, and then once you restore from the backup, you have to make sure that the computer is fine. On top of that, the switch itself, I've seen some people they're using the old version of switch, so that switch itself has what operating system. See, these are the things that it's not possible to find this information out there. that scam operating system, the hackers know they will get inside your Cisco switch. They will get inside your TP-Link switch, Netgear setting, whatever, any kind of switch that you have. They will get inside your firewall if your firewall firmware is not up to date. They will get inside your printer's application or software when your printer firmware is not up to date. On the next lecture, we're going to discuss about disaster recovery principle. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this section, we're going to discuss about disaster recovery principle. One of the most important key that you have to keep in your mind. Don't wait until it's too late. As I say, you don't have to wait until it's too late. For example, if you ask someone, oh, you know what, I'm in the lunch. Hey, you know what, we need help. One computer infected with ransomware, what to do? You have to wait for the like whoever is the chain commander and so on. If you wait, it does impact the entire system. A small business should not wait until after disaster to think about what should have been done to protect their data. You don't have to wait. Protect information completely to reduce the risk of losing critical business information. A small business must implement the appropriate security and backup solution to archive important files. That's another important things. Get employees involved. It's very, very, very important that I say it all the time. You have to have a proper, we can say training or so on in order to make sure that every single person in your company are well aware of about threat, risk, and vulnerability and so on. Employees play a key role in helping to prevent downtime. They should be educated on computer security best practice and what to do if information is, we can say, accidentally deleted or cannot easily be found in their files. Another thing we have to train the employee, as I say. Keep in your mind all the time. Testing is very, very, very important all the time. If you know that you're working in a valuable company, you can afford to hire someone to just record and review the logs and check the every network system, we can see devices, firmware, patches, and so on, to make sure that the all operating system is up to date and all network and system device are what, up to date, including the security camera that you have. That security camera is, we can say, we are smart, we are using for example security camera over IP. It is okay, but you have to make sure that security camera is also what, secure. The port is secure, the IP is secure. On top of that, if you're using wireless, I, I my suggestion is all the time use wire instead of wireless, because wire is more stable and reliable. I'm telling you guys, up on you if you choose wireless. I know some people they use wireless instead of wire, but my suggestion is use wire. Either you use telephone, or we can say phone over IP, or camera over IP, anything over IP. My suggestion is use wire instead of wireless. Review your plan. It's very important. Some business, some companies, they are not afford, for example, due to bandwidth and so on, they probably need to review the plan, and the worst case scenario what to do. I mean, all the time review, every 3 month, every 6 month, review the disaster recovery plan. To do what, for example, and what if some catastrophic things happen, what if anything happen, what would be solution for any state of what we are and where we're supposed to go. Be what, be prepared. Okay, guys, on the next lecture we're going to discuss about policy development management. Okay guys, see you there. Okay, guys, in this section, we're going to discuss about policy development and management. I need you guys' attention. This is very, very important. And also, we can say what exactly key component. What is policy development and management? All companies should develop and maintain clear and robust policies for safeguarding. For what? For safeguarding critical business data and sensitive information, protecting the reputation and discouraging inappropriate behavior by employees, Many of these types of policies or exist for real world situations, but many need to be tailored to your organization and update to reflect the increasing impact of cyberspace on everyday transaction, both professional and personal. Okay, guys, on the next lecture, we're going to discuss about internet usage policy. There should be some policy while the employee is inside the office and they are free to access any types of website that they are like to watch. Hold on a second. And the next lecture, we're going to discuss about which kind of website they are allowed to see or not. Do we have to have restriction for websites? See you guys in the next lecture. Okay, guys. Now we're going to discuss about internet usage policy. Establish an employee internet usage policy as necessary. It is important. It is fine. Some of the employees they come very smart. They join the company. They are working on a task, but later by later, when you see he or she is bit more involved on social media rather than doing his task. That is why we probably need to have rules and regulation for internet usage as well. The limits on employee internet usage and the workspace vary widely from business to business. Your guidelines should allow employees the maximum degree of the freedom they require to be productive. Short breaks to surf the web or perform personal tasks online have been shown to increase productivity. At the same time, rules of behavior are necessary to ensure that all employees are aware of boundaries, both to keep them safe and to keep your company successful. Personal breaks to serve the web should be limited to what? To a reasonable amount of time and to certain types of activities. A web filtering system employees should have clear knowledge of how and why their web activity will be monitored and what types of website are deemed unacceptable by your policy. Okay guys, on the next lecture we're going to discuss about security rules and responsibilities. See you guys there. Okay, guys, in this lecture, we're going to discuss about security rules and responsibility. Establishing, or we can say establish security rules and responsibilities are another key component, and it's very, very important as well. One of the most effective and least expensive means of what? Preventing serious cybersecurity incident is to establish a policy that clearly defines the separation of roles and responsibilities with regard of system and the information they contain. Many systems are designed to provide for a strong rule-based access control, or we can say RBAC. But this tool is of little use without well-defined procedure and policies to govern the assignment of rules and their associate clearly identify company data ownership and employee rules for security oversight and their inheritance privilege, including necessary rules and the privileges and according to those rules the type of employees who should be allowed to assume the various roles, how long an employee may hold a role before access rights must be reviewed. If employees may hold multiple roles, the circumstances defining when to adapt one rule over another. Okay, guys, in the next lecture, we're going to discuss about social media policy. I know it is a little bit, you don't want these kind of policies because you love social media, you're addicted. It's not you're addicted, but I've seen some people are addicted with the social media. They work, but they will watch social media as well. But that is fine. There are some rules and regulation we have to keep our eyes. See you guys there. Okay, guys, I am so excited as every one of you. I know that's gonna be the last lecture for this course. I am so happy and I'm so proud of all of you for those who enroll in this class. And I can say you are such a strong person and you have a good confidence, believe me. So now you found that when you promise something, you can do it. So your plan was to get it done this course, learn and educate yourself, and share this knowledge with your family, with your partner, with your boyfriend, or with your girlfriend, with whoever you think they pursue and chasing this kind of information. I'm so glad, guys. I'm so glad. Best of luck for all of you. Okay, let's talk about establishing a social media policy. Social networking applications present a number of risks that are difficult to address using technical or solution. A strong social media policy is, we can say, crucial for any business that seek to use social networking to promote its activity and communicating with its customers. Specific guidance on when to disclose company activities using social media and what kind of details can be discussed in the public forum is very important. Additional rules for behavior for employees using personal social networking account to make clear what kind of discussion topic or post could cause risk for the company. Guidance on the accessibility of using a company email address to register for or get notice from social media sites. That is something that we didn't have to expect, and we should not use our official email for our personal purpose. Guidance on selecting long and a strong password for social networking accounts. Since very few social media sites enforcing a strong authentication policy for users. Lastly, all users of social media need to be aware of the risk associated with the social networking tools and the type of data that can be automatically disclosed online when using social media. Guys, these are very important. Cybersecurity glossary is a types of your homework. You have to go through and read it one by one and memorize it and keep it in your mind. And cybersecurity links are, I have put in the cybersecurity links. Go ahead and review that links as well. Those links are very valuable. When I was preparing myself for CICSP, that is why I found those valuable links and I thought to share all links with you in this class as well. Okay guys, the last but not least, the only way to appreciate my work is to what? Simply go ahead and find me on YouTube and subscribe my channel. Congratulations everyone. Yes, eventually we finished this course. It was a bit hard for me as well. I have seen friends of mine, they were out there, they are having fun, but I was in my room and recording this course or this class. Again, congratulations. Yes, you did it. You guys have a wonderful time. Enjoy your day, whether you believe it or not. Let me tell you something. Right now, I am going to close this section, and it was my plan once I finish this course, I will go and invite myself for a special dinner. Where I'm going to dinner, I will not disclose, but of course, there will be a special place for dinner because I deserve it. I really work hard. Okay, guys, thank you once again and best of luck.